1, 2, 3, and 4.
All right, let's fire it up. I'll wait.
Is that recorded?
Yes, it's recording.
Okay, cool. All right.
What's up?
There's not really an official way to start one of these things other than just what's going on. Okay, so I think we actually figured out a name for this podcast recently. We've been running without a name for a really long time. Tailored Marketer Podcast. So we're here with Cigar Buddyz. Do you guys just want to go through and just like introduce yourselves really quick? Sure. It's pretty casual.
Yeah. My name is Sheldon Jackson, one of the founders of Cigar Buddyz. Been working at this for about, a couple years now? A little over a year?
A little All right, name's Dwayne Duckins, co-founder of Cigar Buddyz.
And I'm Craig Nunnally, another co-founder of Cigar Buddyz.
So
So Mike, should we be looking at that camera or
look wherever you want.
that? Okay.
Yeah. Pretend like the cameras aren't here. So yeah, we're just
enough.
a bunch of guys shooting the shit.
Yeah.
That's kind of the
That's the best way to do it.
yeah, exactly. No, it's really interesting. So we first got introduced to each other by we were actually shooting a podcast. Yeah. So I always call out Lit Cigar Lounge in most of the episodes because the podcast kind of started as we're just a bunch of guys sitting here talking about business, talking about life, whatever, and then we were just like, why the hell aren't we recording this? Like,
Right.
you know, we all have careers, run businesses, things like that. So like, I just feel like everything these days is content, especially online. So we started recording it. Lit's been really cool. They're just like, yeah, you guys can do whatever the heck you want. And we were shooting another podcast with the owner of Captain Beard Co. And then you guys were just like, hey, what do you guys got going on over there? So that's kind of how we got introduced. So Cigar Buddyz, cigar, mainly apparel right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And eventually bigger plans for that. So tell me about kind of how the company started and like who's gonna take credit for the idea first.
First.
It all started at Lit's original location, and we was all sitting
Really?
there thinking about trying to start up an app. Well, the app was going to cost too much money.
Yeah.
It was going to be like a cigar app where you can share information with other people and stuff that smoke cigars and whatnot, and be able to track what you smoke.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
It's still on the table.
Yeah, it's
but
still on the table, but there's an app already out there like this called Cigar Scanner.
Okay.
So, but we was going to give it a little bit more of a twist, but it was going to cost a little bit too much. So we decided, you know what, let's just call ourselves Cigar Buddyz and sell some apparel and then work our way up to whatever it is it'll take us to.
Yeah. So start small, grow.
Yeah.
And so when we first put the logo out, Cigar Buddyz logo, the guy with the beard smoking a cigar, we started showing it, kind of test marketing. Okay. And we got a lot of feedback from females saying, well, what about us?
What about us?
We smoke too.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. So we also came up with Cigar Buddyz.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
logo that we have. So we have Cigar Buddyz, Cigar Buddyz, and we, like any design we do both.
Okay.
You know, so that we have a female version, a male version.
Great.
And a lot of the male stuff is unisex because females actually kind of like that one too. Like
Yeah.
that logo as well. And we started, I think, with the hashtags.
Yeah, we started with the hashtag. Yeah,
Definitely
that actual shirt right there.
Yep.
Cigar Buddyz. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that was way
Hold on,
before
I'm
we
gonna-
had the logo. And that was the biggest issue is that while we were brainstorming the app, finding the necessary skill sets, expertise to make it to where it's not so cumbersome and not so costly for us to do it.
Right.
Because we wanted the base platform, and of course it wasn't going to stop there. There's going to be iterations, but we just wanted to get that base platform first and launch off of that and build it depending on the feedback we got from people. Do a small test market, family, friends, whomever, and go from that point.
Well, it's really interesting because I think a lot of times people don't get that like cigars, like in cigar smokers, there's that market out there of connoisseurs.
Yeah.
You know, like there is for whiskey, like there is for beer, and there's all these apps out there that, you know, I forget what the name of the beer one is, but you just scan your beer, and you just keep a record of all the beer that you've tried. You can see ratings on it, and it's really great. And I know for me personally, the cigars have always been that one item that, you know, I'm always trying different ones, but I can never. Have I tried that one before?
Right,
have
right.
I not? You know, I really don't like this brand, so I want to make sure that, you know, if there's other cigars that are similar to that brand or that style cigar, like I don't want to waste my money on that, you know, because I'm not going to like it.
Right.
So that's always intrigued me, that something that robust hasn't really been out. I mean, there's things like it, but there's nothing as robust as you get for like whiskeys and beers and things like that.
And I think, go ahead, Craig.
No, I'm gonna say, especially if you're not really the connoisseur, I'm pretty much a creature of habit, the novice of the group. So when I try a new cigar, I would like to record, you know, the flavors I got from it, the notes and things of that sort. But most of the time it's kind of a one and done, and I go back looking through. Have I tried this cigar before? I don't remember. You know, so having something to record that are digitally available, you always know.
Yeah, I think one of the other things too is it's a community. On our Facebook page, man, you see the great times that people have because they post a lot of pictures, videos with them and their friends smoking cigars, hanging out. You see a lot of people posting things about different events that are happening around the country, especially in St. Louis. So it's a great platform for people to show what they're enjoying. A lot of people put their feedback on there about the cigar. We even see questions sometimes like, I'm a new smoker, what should I try? You know, not too strong. So we're able to provide feedback, and our community has over 600 people in it right now. So,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So this is just on your Facebook page?
Yeah,
or is it-
just on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's such a smart idea, because I mean one of the bases of a lot of business in general is just like being able to almost own the conversation. So you don't own cigars, but you're basically, it's like everybody's coming over, and anytime they want to talk about cigars, they're coming over to your house.
Right.
You know, and they're sitting there and they're talking about cigars. So when they think of, you know, right now when they think of apparel, when they think of anything like that, they're thinking of you guys, which is, and you know, as you morph into other areas of your business and stuff like that, like that's where everybody's going to be, you guys are going to be top of mind because you already own that conversation. You already own, you know, you've created you're creating, or have already created a community of people. That's something super valuable, almost a priceless asset of a business.
Yeah, and one of the other great things about that, you get a true organic growth. You know, most of it's word of mouth. A lot of people that are smokers have been there smoking for a while. A lot of other people are novice. And it's not somewhere where you're judged by what you're smoking, whether it's good or bad. Hey, if you like it, we love it. You know, just enjoy it. Tell us about it.
Yeah.
You know, and Sheldon also puts podcasts together, and you know, like
Blogs, more so blogs.
blogs and stuff. Yeah, for the not podcasts, but the blogs, but just doing different things on different types of cigars. You know, the sizes and the ring gauges and the whole nine. Or if you have a white beard, how can you keep your beard white? You know, there's a purple shampoo that you can go to the beauty salon and get.
Keep your beard from turning yellow.
Yeah, keep your beard from turning yellow. Yeah, so we you know, we kind of give everybody information about a little bit of everything.
He's really embraced the educational part of it as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important. I was checking out your guys' website a little bit, and just like the information that's on there of, there's not really a place right now that a lot of people can really go and search out that information. Right. Yeah. You know, like cigars are still, and it's starting to blow up a little bit more, but cigars have always been just kind of an old school product, under the radar. You either know them or you don't. You know, and whiskey was like that for a really long time, and then we kind of saw what happened to that. And I think cigars kind of that last domino to fall of the what have we called it, the luxury products.
Exactly.
That remain luxury. You know, not everybody does it, and when you do it, it's part of a. There's this sense of kind of higher class or exclusivity. Cigars is kind of like that last industry involved with that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did a blog about that actually.
Really?
And it talked about the origin of cigars and how they were a symbol of status, luxury. And as we evolve as a culture, they became more celebratory, but still at that luxury level, kind of like your champagne of smoking and things like that. So it's pretty cool to see a lot of the luxury and the lifestyle associated with cigars. And it becomes a lifestyle, right? Because it's something that, you know, you want to enjoy something. It's not something everybody can get. It can get pretty expensive. If it, you know, a habit wise, it can get pretty expensive. So it's definitely something that's associated with luxury. And then you started seeing one of the blogs I did was around all the different athletes and artists that are starting to get into cigars. Like you have Escobar cigars, you have 85, you have Ray Lewis. You can start to name a laundry list of them that are coming out with cigars. And it's basically saying I've reached this plateau of luxury. And, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it also a testament to how the market is growing.
Right, it varies.
And a lot of
very
people
much
want to
so.
tap into
I
that
think
market.
that, to your
It
point,
grows.
the liquor, the alcohol market too. They're starting to get associated with artists and you know, celebrities and things like that, starting to get their own brands. So
It's funny because, you know, for the longest time, you know, we went through a phase, just cigarettes in general. We went through a phase where smoking cigarettes was like a social thing. It was kind of a status thing. And then all of a sudden we went to, you know, cigarettes are bad. You can't, don't smoke cigarettes. I don't know if anybody remembers the old 90s, like, don't smoke commercial.
Yeah,
those
the
are
whole cancer
wild
thing,
back then.
The whole
Right. And it was, and, you know, I feel like, and now even, you know, cigarettes are even kind of pushing more into this, almost back to what they used to be, which is like, you know, kind of like working class, you know, almost a, you know, if you're smoking, it's almost a level of, what's the word I'm looking for? Endearment, you know. But I feel like cigars they've never fluctuated. Cigars have always just kind of been a luxury product. There's never been don't smoke cigar. In grade school, you know, when they started the DARE program, the DARE officer always said that smoking a cigar is like smoking 32 cigarettes at once. And
based on what?
Because you don't inhale.
Well, that's what I always said. So back then I was like, 32 cigarettes, oh my goodness. And then once I started smoking cigars, I was like, well, okay, let me put it this way. My first time ever smoking a cigar, no one ever gave it to me. I just, you know, I think I bought like a Black and Mild or something at the gas station. Yeah. That was my first ever cigar, I guess. And I inhaled it the first time, and I just sat there and I was like, people can't do this.
We're not,
you know?
gonna go there.
I'm just going to point. Okay, go ahead.
See, like I said, I am the novice out of the group. It's only been, what, 3 years maybe?
Yeah,
maybe 3 years I've been smoking cigars.
Well, it's a different type of tobacco product, and I've always been an advocate of cigar smoking in general, just because one, it's a cleaner product too.
Absolutely.
It's not
full of chemicals.
There's not so many chemicals, you know, and you know, go through all the factories and nastiness and stuff like. And also, depending on the cigar brand, it's also not something that's sprayed down with a bunch of pesticides like a lot of cigarette brands are.
Yeah, you get the pure leaf.
And you know, the one thing that I really like about it is that it's an art form too. It's not just a manufacturing process. There's a art to rolling a cigar. There's an art to where they buy their cigar leaves from, or where they plant, where they grow. That there's a science behind it that is not chemical based.
Yeah, that's the passion in it, man.
The passion, the science behind mixing, you know, Nicaraguan with Dominican or Cuban with whatever, so you find that right blend that fits your palate, and hopefully someone else would love it as well.
Well, when you go to, when you visit some of these countries as a tourist, you know, you can go to the tobacco farms and they'll roll a fresh cigar for you. I had a buddy of mine who did that, and I don't know of many other products that do that. You know, you can go to a distillery or a brewery and get the beer from it, but like there's not many. You know, no one's sitting there. You aren't going to a tobacco farm and someone's like, all right, give me a piece of paper and let's roll a cigarette for you.
Fresh Newport, right?
Right. Roll a fresh Newport, bro.
Yeah. Dip it in menthol really quick.
Formaldehyde. It's good to go.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of the, and I think cigars as well is one thing that. So there's something that's been a trend in just culture in general that's been coming up recently is just like the loss of the third place. So the third place is just like a term to describe, you know, home is your first place, work is your second place, and then your third place is in between that. The place that's not either, that you meet your buddies, your friends, and you hang out. And just kind of that loss of that as work has become, you know, as things have become more expensive, as work has become, you know, kind of like the grind culture has developed. You wake up, you work, and then you go to sleep, and that's kind of how things have been for the longest time. And so, you know, places like cigar lounges or those places have started. They've become more popular. We're coming back from it, but for a while they were struggling because everybody just they weren't going. They were they were waking up, they were going to work, and they were coming home. And it's one of those products that you could sit down, you could light, and you know that no matter what you have going on, until this is done, you're hanging out.
You're hanging out, exactly.
And
what I love about it is that the camaraderie. You know, you don't have a lot of tension amongst cigar smokers. You know, like you would go to a regular bar and cigarette smokers would be there, and then you got a lot of tension with the alcohol. People drink as much alcohol they want here, and they're smoking a stick, and you don't get all of that. Yeah.
No, I wish I was mic'd up so I want to talk too.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm in love with cigars ever since you got me on them when you guys got married. And it was like that one that we had on your...
the balcony
on
there?
The balcony, you know, like that was... You know, ever since then I've been like, this social environment is way better when I'm smoking. Like, if we didn't have the cigar, what would we be doing?
Right.
So the cigar just gives you a reason to just stand there and do that, you know? Like,
Well, it's just like, you know, there's not like a... It's actually funny when you break it down like that. It's almost like if we weren't smoking cigars and we were all just having a conversation, then there'd be a lull in the conversation, just like,
Or we'd
you know.
So did you watch the game the other night?
Yeah. I've never seen anybody fight at like smoking a cigar.
No,
I've never seen it.
No.
I've seen people fight at bars. I bartended for 8 years. Started. Well, I used to cook and open up the restaurant Humphreys by Slough when the original owners, and then I bartended at McGurk's for the longest time, and that was one of those things where there's always people fighting. It's like anytime people are, you know, I like a good cocktail, like, you know, whatever, but I've never seen anybody sit there and fight sitting down smoking a cigar, no matter what you disagree on. It's insane how two people could think completely different things, sit down and have a cigar, and it's just the most cordial conversation no matter.
Exactly.
That was one of your big points when we were writing our who we are and what we're about. You know, that no matter what walk of life you come from, everybody can sit there and relate over a cigar.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And you make great connections business-wise. And I've learned a lot from people I smoke with about their industry, about their life, you know what I mean? And got some great advice. It's almost like the golf course, right?
Right.
Yeah, you can sit there, man, and you meet people, make connections. Next thing you know, you got Cigar Buddyz, or you have, you know, some type of business idea that you might pursue. Got some travel buddies now, man. We travel with people now, part of Cigar. They, you know, they're not part of the organization, but they're members, and they follow us, and we follow them. We might go to cigar events. We just got back from Tampa in December, where we visited a few cigar lounges, had some fresh rolled hand rolled cigars and things like that. Yeah, and I'm talking a group of us. It wasn't just a handful. I mean, it was
There was at least 30 of us.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah,
And
that's
having that kind of social group, man, and the connections you make, it's awesome. I think it gives you a level of comfort that I'm always be amongst friends, and I think that's the important part, right?
yeah. I think that's the thing. You can relate almost with anybody over a cigar.
Yeah.
You know. Have you guys ever smoked pipes at all? You ever gonna?
He does.
That's where I started.
Yeah.
That was where I started.
I started with the pipes. I love a good pipe smoke. You know, you get it from my grandfather smoking the old corn husk pipe that he made. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I started off smoking pipes, and I think it was Dwayne that introduced me into cigars. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, the cigar you're smoking right now has pipe tobacco in it.
Yeah, it's a pipe tobacco cigar.
Okay, so
Stillwell.
So tell me about
the
that.
aromatic. Yep.
What is the difference between? What's the difference between the different types of tobacco? Like when it comes to
a pipe tobacco versus a I don't want to say a Cuban or
It's a traditional cigar.
cigar leaf.
Yeah, it's a cigar is typically the fermentation process is a little bit different.
Okay.
First and foremost, and then there's typically a whole leaf roll versus they shred the tobacco. They might aroma. They might add aroma, some additives to it. But
So is that kind of that's like shredded tobacco that's kind of wrapped up in a leaf, or?
no, that may be more. I haven't looked into the Stillwell and
Yeah.
how exactly it's processed. But the tobacco that they use in it, they may not shred it, but it goes through the same process of
The
that pipe
fermentation,
tobacco goes
the
through,
adding
Interesting.
of different aromas and things of that sort.
So that's
Yeah,
something I've
so-
always been super ignorant of. Is like, to be honest, until just this moment now, I always thought it was the same thing. It was just
Yeah.
like the leaves, and with tobacco, obviously you shred it. But that's really, really
I'll
interesting.
do a
Yeah.
blog on that.
Yeah, as far as I
Yeah,
know,
right.
as far as I know, this is the only one that I've seen. Stillwell is the only one that I've seen
the only one I've seen.
that's with cigar tobacco.
Well,
Pipe tobacco.
You have the
Yeah.
no, I was going to say ramrods.
That's not
No,
pipe
that's not
tobacco.
pipe
That's not pipe tobacco.
Yeah.
No, that's
So
cigar tobacco.
so sadly to say, this is my favorite cigar.
Well, hey, it makes sense that that's
It's
where
not
you started.
sad,
that
but
ain't sad.
this record, hey,
It makes sense since you started
started-
with pipes and you like pipes,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then like that's your favorite cigar. So
Yeah.
it all kind of tracks.
Yeah.
I get that. So what? You guys were all sitting down, thought, let's start this company. Take me through that. Like how did it? What sparked the idea to start Cigar Buddyz? And during that conversation and further conversations, what did you kind of see like it starting and then eventually morphing into?
Well, when we started it, like I said, we was thinking about the app. So we decided not to do that. And then we said, well, we can just start selling apparel. And then we had a game plan, a 7-year plan. So we started selling apparel with our logos. And then we would move on to a mobile cigar lounge. And then, of course, get our own sticks before the mobile cigar lounge. And then use the mobile cigar lounge to purchase a brick and mortar. So we had a 7-year plan for that, and we're only 2 years in. So, but we're gonna keep struggling.
So I love the idea of the mobile cigar lounge. That's like, so you guys originally told me about that, and I think that's the coolest idea in the world, because it can be not only just like, it's such a personalized experience, and it goes with the cigar experience in general. It's just like, how freaking cool is it? You know, you're just sitting there and you call a company and for a mobile cigar lounge. They just show up to your house or show up wherever you are.
Show up your
and then-
friend's football party.
Right.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just go, you and your buddies go out to the cigar lounge. Everybody's like, what the heck is
For
that?
the
You know?
next hour and a half.
So you got a cigar lounge sitting in your driveway.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Or even tailgate.
And-
man.
Tailgate,
Well,
yeah.
Right.
Even tailgate
different
parties.
events, yeah, just being able to show up.
Street events.
Yeah.
Yeah, carnivals,
Parks.
things
Yeah.
we was thinking about is that when you're mobile, you're not tied to one business segment. You
Right.
can kind of touch base on everything.
Right. That's a really cool. Okay, so how do you
And-
see that? Do you see it kind of like if you had a picture of your ideal situation, like a larger food truck looking type thing, or like we're talking about an Airstream, like an old school Airstream that you guys
Maybe
have?
not
My
as
vision.
Go
not
ahead.
maybe as large as an Airstream.
Yeah.
End game me would be a Prevost just laid out. You know, but that'll be end game. We've made it with the mobile lounges, but you can
I'm
go
thinking
ahead.
more
and
like-
So
So-
I'm gonna angle this up just
Oh,
slightly.
okay. I keep messing up the mic. Man.
No, you're cool. I just want to make sure I get everything you say.
All right.
All right, you're good.
So, you know, I guess my vision or something we've talked about is a Sprinter van,
Okay.
like a Mercedes Sprinter.
Okay.
Inside decked out, right? Bench seat all the way wrapped around, small little bar. You got to keep the driver separate because you're gonna have alcohol back
Right.
there. Small humidor, TV, nice TV in there, lit ceiling. Or if you want to go bigger, then we would go with something like more of an RV type of situation where
Okay.
you have similar layout, but you know you got a little more space.
So in the first situation, it's not
So-
really something you can like stand up in. It's more just
like a
little
party
seat.
bus.
Yeah.
You can
You
stand,
stand up.
Oh, you
and-
could
Yeah.
stand in that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
yes, yes.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Or more or less like an Oats bus, but the extended version.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Or like the shuttle buses for the airport.
Yeah.
The extended version of one of those shuttle
Yep.
buses.
Yeah.
More
And
You
customized.
more
gotta
have it
Definitely.
customized.
Definitely.
You
Yeah.
got to trick it
Customized.
out on the inside though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sound system, nice, either bench seats or nice big leather seats.
Now, is it something that you could drive around in?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So even one other version is having something, I mean, the same thing as that, but being able to go to an event, send out your awning and everything, throw down the artificial turf, have a couple stand-up bars around
Yeah,
it,
we talked about that.
Some
Yeah.
furniture and stuff, you know, where people can
and being
actually
able
have
to
an indoor experience
seriously-
outdoors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, where does this? So, could someone theoretically, like say there's an event in like Kansas City or something like that, could someone say, hey, we want this mobile cigar lounge and we just want to smoke cigars, drink whiskey, drive us to Kansas City?
For the game,
Yeah.
and we'll drive
Absolutely.
it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's like something. That's
Adults only, though.
yeah, but that's
And don't,
Right.
don't duck driving. We good.
Yeah.
now is the driver smoking a cigar?
No. Well, he can
Yeah,
smoke,
yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say driver's smoking a cigar though. All right.
but he cannot drink. No.
Can I drink?
I was gonna say like if one of you guys are driving the truck, like you have to be able to smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Straight next to the like console there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That keeps me awake, actually. I just took
That's
my
funny.
daughter to school
I
in
mean,
Atlanta.
literally.
And literally, I got to about Tennessee.
Nashville?
Yeah, I got to Nashville. I was like, oh boy. I said,
Yeah.
I'm going to light a cigar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Took me right in.
Yeah, because I'm originally from Georgia, and literally, by the time I hit Nashville, I got to light a cigar. It's like,
Oh
okay.
yeah.
You know, it's just really relaxing, especially with the traffic, depending on what time you get there. Just let down the window and just light a cigar.
I mean, you can smoke an entire cigar just through Atlanta traffic
Yeah,
on
yeah.
its own.
Big time. That's your mobile cigar lounge.
You need something to calm your
Your car.
nerves.
Oh man, those cab drivers there, are, like
yeah.
they're if you don't Atlanta traffic is the few experiences I've had in it are just like if you aren't right on the ass of the person in front of you, someone's getting in there.
Someone's
And
getting
they will hit your car.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But-
It's Gran Turismo. You better get in when you fit in. You know?
But what I know
or
about
get put into the wall.
with the cigar world, a lot of guys that I know, man, when the weather's inclement weather, they don't want to leave the house. They'll pull their cars out in the driveway and use their garages.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
That's what.
that's the ultimate
the best
cigar
cigar
lounge.
lounge
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah, you got your radio, you got your drink.
You got a little heater when it's cold.
Heater when it's
TV.
cold. Yeah,
Oh, that's
TV.
the best. That's the best.
Yeah.
Mini fridge.
We just bought a house back in May, and we got really, really lucky. So it has a garage, normal 2-car garage, opens up in the front, but it also has like a 1-car open that goes right in the
okay.
back. So we'll smoke cigars at like those 100-degree days, and
Yeah.
the breeze just kind of goes straight through. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Nice.
Yeah. Cigar.
nice.
The garage is the second cigar.
Yeah, that's the fourth place.
Right.
Then you got the deck, and if you got your gazebo over top of you,
That's
your-
my favorite
Yeah.
spot.
Oh yeah, no, I
Yeah.
can see that. Like, Do you guys have those at your own places? Do you have like kind of those heaters that what are those called? It's like those
infrared.
Yeah, like the propane heaters.
Yeah, I don't use those. Yeah, I use the infrared heaters.
Infrared, yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you?
The propane, it's just a pain in the ass to keep going back and buying propane.
Yeah.
But so if you use the infrared heaters, you just plug them in.
You're talking the ones that it's just like a heat lamp.
Like a
Like a heat lamp, yeah, radiant heat lamp.
That's the one I wanted to get my mom and dad, but mom said it would ruin the wood on
Well, because you gotta like
Fixes on the deck.
Have you
It would ruin the wood
experienced
on
that
it.
though? Because I have a rug on my deck too.
I got a rug on mine as well.
Oh, you got a rug on.
But I put a pergola, a 12 by 12 pergola on my deck, and I got the curtains that I can close off, and I just put the heater out there. And in summertime, I got a fan hanging in the center of it, so I just go out there and lounge on the deck.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez,
And
that's
be out there
okay.
till 2, 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
So you're not freezing?
I'm glad we're recording this because I'm like taking notes of what I want to do.
Well, there was a night where I was at, this happened a few times, where I was at the, at the metro stop, and they got those ones there. And that was when it opened my eyes. I was like, you can stand under those heat lamps.
Yeah.
And you feel like God under there. You can any temperature. So I was like, I kind of like those ones. But
The heat lamps are really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't smoke in the house at home, so I have
Right.
to have an outdoor garage or outdoor space. So
Same. Yeah,
See-
I never smoke indoors.
Yeah,
Inside my house. Indoors, yes.
I would.
But-
The goal one day is to be rich enough
They have a humidor inside.
to have
A lounge in your
a
house.
house, the big enough house to where I just, everybody hangs out over here, and I go to the other side of the house in my study,
Right.
with my leather chairs, and I smoke my cigar inside the house, and I feel like that's every guy's
it.
goal,
I've
just
seen
like
And then
seen
you
a
send
lot
for
of
people
those.
like the gang, like a gang leader, right?
right.
Send Lisa in here.
I need to see your homework.
I know. I get a lot of my. Have you guys ever seen the show? You ever seen Narcos?
Yeah.
At all? Yeah, that's kind of where I get a lot of my ideas. They're always sitting there. They're huge, like towards like the later season. The later seasons, they're in their own like cigar rooms. And I'm just like, I want a fleet of the Mercedes G wagons. Right? Just and just have my own humidor. That's what it is.
I've seen a lot of those rooms built on YouTube and stuff of that sort. The guys have their own ventilation, whole whiskey wall, everything, cigar wall, humidor, huge right there. I just have to start watching. I'm like, I'm not there yet.
No, you're gonna.
And it just, giving me that drive, but it's frustrating me that I'm not there yet.
I know. Eventually you're gonna be smoking a cigar, drinking some whiskey, and you're gonna get just buzzed enough to where you just start buying shit, so that you make it. I'm gonna make this happen now.
I got 2-seater planks over there.
I become the Amazon fiend of the family.
Right. Well, I always find that as one of the cool things that Lit's always done, and a few cigar places, where they're able to get the air circulation just good enough to where, like my wife doesn't smoke cigars. I have a few friends who that don't smoke cigars, but they're cool to hang out. But like this place, for example, is a great place to where the airflow is good enough to where if you aren't smoking a cigar and you're sitting having a glass of wine or something like that, you don't walk out reeking of cigars.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's always been, I feel like, an issue a lot of places kind of deal with, is that you can really only go if you smoke cigars. But this place, they've done a good job where you can go, you don't have to smoke cigars, and you don't have to smell like it either.
Exactly.
And it's kind of the thing too, is that there are places I would not go if they're smoking cigarettes.
Really?
I just refuse to go in there. But I do not have that same contention for people smoking. Well, not people, but
It's
the
a
cigar
different
smoke.
smell. It's a different.
Yeah, it's a different smell. Well, I remember when I was a kid, my dad, his friends smoked cigars. Some of his friends, not my dad, and I couldn't stand the smell.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, cigars.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
absolutely love. Maybe how your palate matures, something happened, and I love the way they smell now.
I feel like it's always the type of cigar, though, too.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
you
Yeah,
always
Yes.
know when someone's smoking a cheap,
Right.
cheap
Yeah.
cigar. working in the restaurant industry, there would always be people that would smoke cigars, and we had a rule that during late night hours when dinner wasn't being served, we put out ashtrays. You can smoke cigarettes,
Yes.
but you can never smoke cigars.
During dinner. Oh, okay.
A lot of the time, though, I just kind of use my judgment is that, like, if you're smoking cigars, kind of like ones that we all have, it's fine.
Right.
But there's always those, like, really cheap ones that just, like, are kind of assaulting to your nose. And you're just like,
started, I bought them at Walgreens, man.
Yeah.
the Walgreens cigars.
Yeah, Walgreens cigars, yeah.
Hey, don't feel bad. I've had a couple rejects myself.
Hey, sometimes you want a cigar and you're on a budget. It's okay.
Or you traveling and you can't find a cigar. Like, this is all you have? Okay.
Right.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's-
definitely. And that's another great thing about cigars, and even the cigar manufacturers, is that there's a price point for everyone. And don't get me wrong, I've had some very expensive cigars, and I have some that are on the lower end. And many times, some of the ones on the lower end are just as good as the larger ones. It just really depends on your palate.
I think
Yeah.
that's what the cool comparison between cigars and like alcohol, or specifically wine, is. I don't know if you guys follow Gary V at all on Gary Vaynerchuk. So if you're in marketing, he's kind of like the marketing guy.
Okay.
So he started out talking about his immigrants. His parents his dad owned a liquor store, and he was kind of like the first YouTube guy. He sat there and he started a YouTube channel called Wine Library, and he just sat there and just reviewed wines. He just talked about wine on YouTube, and then that blew up, and the liquor store blew up, and now he's like a big marketing guy and kind of blew up that way. But he's still a big wine guy, and he always sat there and he goes, listen, wine, just like cigars, is one of those things where you don't have to buy a $20, $30, $50 cigar or bottle of wine to get a good one. Sometimes it's just where it comes from and how it's made. Sometimes it could just even be a season. There was a while there where wine specifically, Portuguese wine from Portugal, in the $13 range, the wine sommeliers were comparing to like $50 bottles from California.
Wow.
And that's one thing, like you said, that I've noticed about cigars is there's certain cigars from certain areas that might smoke one way at one time, but then there's other times where, a $5-6 cigar from that area, there's something in the air there, something in the soil that it smokes like, a $15 Monte Cristo at times, and I think for me it's not always about the flavor, it's not always about, the aftertaste, but sometimes it's just, does it smoke evenly? Does it just not fall apart on me? Like, that's a big part.
Yeah, if I have to fight
Constantly
with it,
lightening.
if I have to fight with it, it's like I'm gonna put it down.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is good, but I'm constantly lightening it. It's rolled too tight, and I'm constantly having to, address it, poke it, try to get
Your
it
jaw
to
kind of
snap.
hurts at the end of it. You're just like trying to get a good drag out of it, Or even if they're rolled too loosely.
That's even worse.
You take one drag and like half the cigar's gone.
Yeah.
And it's hot, really hot. You should be able to hold the cigar right at the tip, not feel much heat. A good cigar, you should be able to hold it right there, and it should stay cool throughout while you're smoking. So, I look for all of that, man. I look for all of that. So.
Right. So, as you all are building Cigar Buddyz, what right now, if you had to assess your business, what is the thing that you need? What is the thing that you're like, this is what we're missing? This would take us to the next level. Could be one thing, could be a multitude of things. What do you think that one missing piece is, or a few missing pieces?
I think one of the keys you just brought up is marketing, right? Just more brand promotion is one of the key. We have over 30, close to 30
we got
logos.
24 in this catalog here.
Yeah, I was just looking at that
Yeah.
earlier.
And we can do it better. I think we need to invest more in making sure that they're visible. other than us wearing them. Make sure they're on our website, make sure they're available. More events where we're, just promoting the brand. So a lot of marketing promotions is one of the, I think, the initial steps we could take to realize more growth.
Yeah, and part of that is being on multiple platforms, not just Facebook or whatever. I'm on, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all of that stuff, and I'm posting when I post. Little things about cigars, or trying to get my friends that are, in other states, other cities, to start posting as well.
Right.
To their websites, to their things, and it's really just getting that brand recognition and growing. Even beyond the shirts and things, having other merchandise, future merchandise is going to be a big thing as well.
Yeah, the merchandise I have on right now, you can find on our website, cigarbuddyz.com.
Oh,
we
yeah,
have an online store, and you can get the women's logo and the men's logo.
Yep.
Yeah, check it out, guys.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk all about it. We'll post about it. It's there's one thing. So there's a guy that I can't think of his name, but he's on TikTok, and he's an older guy. He is a cigar connoisseur, and he sits there and he
Excuse me.
he smokes cigars.
He said that's yours, man.
Is that Dak Prescott?
We could talk about that. Yeah. So
Packers fan.
So here we go. The shirts that Ethan and I are going to be wearing, over the next. We'll post a picture, maybe do a little video with it. Whatever we think.
Oh, you
But-
saw me.
No, I didn't see you. I thought you were opening up like a Tic Tac or something. So this guy on TikTok, he sits there and all of his content is just about cigars, and then he'll go on lives, which TikTok's weird with the live content because you have to have like a certain number of followers. Where like
Correct.
Facebook or Instagram, for example, you could have 0 followers and go live.
Right.
But he just sits there, and he will just smoke a cigar, and he'll just educate people on cigars. So he'll talk about the different, like kind of what we're talking about here, where you guys have already educated me today just on like the different types of tobacco, the difference between cigar and pipe tobacco, how everything's made. He even goes so deep into the best way to light a cigar, how you should light a cigar, why certain lighters, or some people use the
cedar.
The
cedar. Yeah. He's like, this is why I recommend this.
Yeah.
He's like, some people feel like it's bougie or like not that big of a deal. But he's like, this is the science behind why this is so good. And I think that's something that you guys could actually do. I mean, just after talking to you all, like you guys are very knowledgeable. You're very
That's a good idea.
you guys aren't like shy about giving your opinions on stuff. Like that's something that you guys could start tomorrow, is just sitting there, just going on lives, talking about cigars. I mean, even if you guys have different social followings, you could be at home, start your live, and invite one of you, be side by side on the live, just have a conversation, basically just doing what we're doing right here.
Right.
But you're on where more people are watching you.
That's a good idea.
Because the blogs, they get attention. Because I've blogged about, like Duck said, how to take care of your teeth, your beard, keep things white. I've blogged on the different ring gauges in cigars, the different types of fillers, binders, wrappers, the top 5 cities in the United States for cigars. And surprisingly,
Really?
I can't remember them off the top of my head. I would have thought Ybor City or something.
Right.
Key West was in there, Miami. And,
Just like who sell the best cigars,
well, where you can
or
find the most variety, where you get a lot of hand rolls, different things like that. So if you want that whole experience, where you could go get it.
okay, give me what are the top 5 cities?
It's on the blog, but I don't remember.
It's on the blog. Okay, don't say it. You're right. It's on the blog. You're right. Okay, I love that. See, you guys.
And let's see, I did something around, like I said, about the influence that hip hop had on cigars. We talked about Nas, the fact that he has a cigar out, Escobar. There's a couple other, Jay-Z with the Cohiba, is it the Commodore? I think it is.
Okay.
And different artists like that. And so it's interesting when you start to dig into it, man, how much opportunities out there, how much education, the things we don't know, right? About the color of the wrapper, Maduro versus natural versus Connecticut, and all those things. The flavor profile, how the ring gauge. You can have the same cigar in 2 different sizes and get more intense flavor out of one versus the other, things like that. So it's really interesting when you start to get into it.
Well, so that's one thing that I've always noticed too, is that like usually the color of the wrapper tells you kind of the intensity of the cigar,
robustness
but
of
it doesn't always. It doesn't
No,
always.
not
I've
anymore.
had cigars that looked like this that were very flavorful, very
strong,
kind of hit you
yeah.
in the face, and it doesn't always translate. I mean, it's a good for a beginner. It's a good gauge, but it doesn't always translate. It's just really interesting. But that's stuff that would be that you guys should talk about.
Yeah.
You know, like you write the blog, people can read the blog because it's different audiences.
Yeah.
There's people who are going to find your website who are going to read the blogs, and then there's also people who, you know, like I don't know, like Gen Zers who, you know, younger millennials,
watch
Gen
them
Zers who
more,
are not.
Yes,
They're not going to necessarily read a blog, but they'll watch you on social.
Right.
Right.
You know, they'll watch you on a live. They'll watch your content. Your 15,
Cigar
30 seconds.
101. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the questions I always ask people is, well, what started you to smoking, like the why, and then also your first experience with a cigar. I always look at Craig when I say that.
Oh yeah, what?
We don't want to talk about it.
Are you sure?
I'm definitely
Here,
come on,
I
Craig.
guarantee.
absolutely positive.
I guarantee my first smoking experience is more embarrassing than
I
that.
doubt it. I doubt
You
it.
doubt it? Are you sure?
I doubt it.
I don't
Okay.
know. It probably is, man.
I don't know.
Go on to share it.
Let's just say the melanated skin turned green.
So there must have been.
I inhaled a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. He inhaled way too, and you.
And there
Don't
was
inhale.
alcohol involved.
Oh, okay. Well, you know.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know everybody was freaking out about bringing it to the NFL when I don't know if you guys watch football a lot, but when the Raiders completely destroyed the Chargers a couple weeks ago, I forget what that guy on what his name is on the Raiders defense, who basically was like the player of the game, but he's sitting there on the interview afterwards, sitting at the desk, they're interviewing him, and he's smoking a cigar. And it's been going around social for a while. I
Right.
still see
I
it.
gotta see
He
it.
sat there and he had a cigar like this, and he inhales it. You could see, like, you could tell if someone's inhaling a cigar or not. He sat there and and then he like sat there and just like blew it all out, and everybody's like, this guy is just something else. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like.
I did not want to ride the bus with him.
Yeah.
You know, it goes back to Steve Harvey though. The one video
Right,
he
right.
did. He said he pulls the smoke in. He takes a deep breath, but he doesn't
Inhale it, yeah.
He doesn't
Yeah.
inhale it.
Doesn't bring the
Holds the
How
smoke in
does-
his mouth, takes a deep breath, and
Yeah.
then blows everything out like
Have
you're
you guys
doing
ever
yoga.
been able to do that? Have you tried
Yes,
that?
and it's very relaxing.
Yeah. Uh-oh, here we go.
And then blow it out real slow. Yeah.
Well, I think I got a little bit.
All right, I'm gonna show you how it's done.
Right.
But I did it, yeah.
Yeah, so he didn't take any of
See,
his lungs.
I didn't take any in the lungs, but it was all in my mouth. But I just take a deep breath and then blow it out real slow, almost like meditating. Yeah.
All right,
And
I might
one
try that
of
more
the
often.
habits I picked up just from, like you say, watching YouTubes and other people that are more educated than I am about cigars, I had got into the habit of just rubbing tequila all on my cigar before I start smoking it.
Really?
Yeah. And it
Okay.
does offer a different note to the cigar depending on which one it is.
Okay.
But yeah, and it burns slower too.
Yeah, that was an Arnold
So-
Schwarzenegger trick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you put a little tequila on it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
usually get
And
like
do you
the
wait?
cedar
Do you
sticks.
wait after doing it, or
I
you
mean,
just
you
light it
don't
right
soak
away?
You don't soak it,
Yeah, you don't
just brush
soak
it on with the cedar,
Yep.
with a piece of cedar a little bit, and you
A good
wave
tequila.
You wave it
Don't-
around a little bit, let it dry out, and then you smoke it, and then it burns a lot slower. because the tobacco is moist on the outside, so
sense.
it burns a little bit slower.
What's your preferred tequila to do that with?
Right
Anything,
now,
Which one? He said open one.
open one.
open one. But no, right now, I really like Don Julio right now.
Don Julio. That was the first ever tequila I tried.
Wow.
Well, I'm not going to get into that story, but there's a local company in St. Louis called Una Vida.
Yep.
Who-
Yep.
I haven't had that one.
They're
Oh yeah. It's been really big.
well, they're more expensive now than they used to be.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where, for the price, it was probably
Yeah.
top shelf tequila for middle of the range. Very, very good. So local company, little plug for them. They're really, really good. I think have you guys ever had, I know you like these, Ethan likes these, but have you guys ever had like the acid cigars?
I have.
Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your thoughts.
You know what?
They are a little robust for me.
Acid cigar, well, the one I had was the Cuba Cuba. It was a really sweet cigar, had a really sweet tip on it. A lot of people love sweet cigars. A lot of people love cigars that have a fragrance to them. A lot of beginners, I will start them out on something like an acid, because it's not offensive. Like sometimes if I go to a winery, I might smoke an acid or something, just so it's not offensive to somebody else, versus smoking something else that I would normally smoke.
But it kind of leaves like a little thing on
Yeah,
on your lips almost.
Yeah.
It's almost
Yeah.
like it's like they dip it in sugar or something.
Yeah.
Now, see, I typically like a sweet tip, but not a fruity flavor as far as the smoke, the taste of smoke. I don't mind the sweet tip simply because of the aftertaste of it being in your mouth.
Okay.
But
Definitely.
definitely,
Stillwell's about the furthest
This is a
that I'll
sweet
go.
Because you have like Tatiana's,
Yeah,
they
I
also
can.
have different flavors to them. You got one that almost smells like potpourri, like a berry flavored potpourri or something.
I tell you what was interesting though is Duck discovered electric cigars, almost like vaping. Like
Yeah,
Wait, explain that.
yeah.
it's a vape cigar.
Yeah.
And it's got like 20% nicotine in it. And I ordered it online.
So what does it look like?
It looks like a regular cigar, and then the tip, it's got an ash-looking tip on it, and then when you draw from it, it lights up.
So what goes in it though? Like a vape? Is it a vape or
There's
is
no
it?
cartridge that you can exchange. It's just once you pull the tab out of it and start sucking on it, shut up. I caught myself.
As soon as you said it,
we looked at it like,
As Bernie Mac would say, "Fuck you, you son of a bitch."
as soon as you said it, I was like, someone's gonna say something.
Shit, I caught my damn self.
Listen,
But anyway,
I thought I was gonna get myself in trouble when I was talking about like the two tight wrap
Yeah.
cigars, and I was like, makes your jaw hurt. I was like, wait a second.
yeah. So once you start taking the first draw off of it, the battery actually starts. Every time you take a draw, I think it has something like 80 something draws. That
So
you take
what's
off.
so there's something in it.
What's
There's
in
a
it?
cartridge in it.
There's one
but
that's
it's
built
not
in that you can't replace.
that you can't.
So, okay, you can't
it's not
replace it.
rechargeable.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Right.
okay.
But it's an interesting concept though because if you're somewhere where you
But it's not smoke; it's vapor.
Exactly.
And it actually smells like a cigar.
So that's
tastes
cool
like
because
a cigar.
that's a way to do it. Because always the big thing with vapes
Yeah.
right now is it actually what they're saying is that it's actually worse for your lungs. But like with a cigar
the
thing,
chemicals and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
you aren't like sucking. You aren't you aren't inhaling it
This is
as
going. This
much.
is going
You
to
know.
hell.
The kids are coming out. But
Yeah.
yeah.
See, this is part of the
Yeah.
conversation that
Yeah.
like gets the whole thing demonetized.
But the electronic cigar, you can't inhale it because it's almost like smoking a real cigar.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you're vaping, but you can't inhale the vape.
That's really,
Yeah.
really, really
I
interesting.
tried it.
Now, does it linger? Does it linger as well? Where like obviously, if you did a regular vape, you know, it's not the same as smoking a cigarette inside the house. You know, like a
Right.
cigarette
Yeah.
smoke will stay, but vape won't. Is it kind of the same thing?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
It dissipates really quick.
I find it very interesting too that a lot of places will allow you to vape but would not let you smoke a cigar.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. That's where that comes in real handy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of sports bars I go to, things of that sort, you can smoke use a vape, but it will not let you smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
And I've been talking to a lot of my friends, most of them outside of, you know, my close circle of friends that we smoke with, cigars with, most of them vape. Nearly all of them vape.
Interesting.
So I've been targeting them. Come on over,
Yeah.
grab a cigar.
Right.
What taste you like, you know?
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
try to move over.
He's your
Come on
pusher,
over.
man. Right.
Well, it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
You know, it's not people vape because they don't want to smoke a cigarette, but you know, if you do a cigar, you still have the. I mean, you can find cigars that are, you know, peach and vanilla
Right.
and you know those fun flavors, but ultimately, you know, going
It's
back
the
to the
nicotine.
acids are kind of
Yeah.
I believe it's really the nicotine effect that is still in a vape
Yeah.
that you don't necessarily get in a cigar. But at the same time, some cigars will still give you that euphoric feeling
Right.
that's not nicotine based.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, I think nicotine is a natural part of the tobacco leaf. They're not adding all the other stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Tar, all that stuff. Yeah.
I'm not a nicotine addict.
And the other thing too with the vape cigar, you don't have the smell in your clothes.
Yeah.
And you don't have that nasty taste in your mouth.
Yep.
You know, so there's just certain things. It's good things about it. Yeah.
So
I remember starting out, I was always like, okay, what do I need to rinse my mouth with to get this tobacco taste out?
He asked me that question one time.
Toothpaste, baking soda, and a cap full of peroxide, man, it'll take all that out of
Oh,
your mouth,
man.
man.
it's good to know. I think
Yeah.
Purple
Yeah.
Listerine too.
With purple Listerine, yeah, that way you won't wake up the next morning.
Right.
It tastes like an elephant shit in your mouth.
yeah, but I think that's the difference between a good cigar and a bad cigar.
How do you know how that tastes, though?
Yeah.
What elephant should taste like? Yeah.
It's just an imagination, bro.
You've been experimenting.
Elephant
But
shit
actually,
stinks.
we should explore how you know. Just a little more. But I think that's the difference between a good cigar and a bad cigar too. Is that
Yeah, absolutely.
bad cigars, you have
Oh,
one,
real
and then
skunky.
you wake up it doesn't matter if you brush your teeth or anything. You wake up in the morning. Usually, although these days, if I have a bad cigar, it's probably because I'm drunk and I want a cigar.
Right.
You know, I'm just like, you just grab whatever at the gas station or something like that. So you wake up the next morning and you taste it for the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where a good
Yes.
cigar, you could smoke a good cigar in the evening,
Right.
wake up in the morning, and there's really not
There's
anything.
really not much
you know?
there,
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the difference also with a well-made cigar is that it does because it doesn't that hot burn
Yep.
is what really makes it, you know.
One thing I learned too from research, the purity of the tobacco. So I was reading that when so you look at a cigar, and some cigars you see the ash burns really white, and then
Yeah.
some it's a gray or a black. They say the whiter the ash, the less impurities are in the.
There you go.
Yeah,
So it's real interesting. That's semi-pure.
See how gray yours is
Yeah.
compared to
that
mine?
looks
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, this one's kind of gray.
I've knocked off.
I think that might be the most pure
Purest
one
one,
right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
I'm pure.
I thought, yeah, Mr. Pure. I thought that was some interesting learning too. I didn't do a podcast on our blog on that one. I just
You
watched.
shared it. I thought you shared
I
something.
shared something that somebody else did on our site. Yeah. So it's interesting when you start digging into them and learning, and you start watching for stuff like that. Like you buy a cigar, you smoke it, and then you're like, okay, this burns pure, and then you just keep note of that. So it's real nice.
So how many blogs do you typically write, like on a monthly
Man.
basis?
So I used to do one every weekend, right? And the research, it started getting too time consuming.
Yeah.
So I think I did one, a couple weeks ago? And
Yeah.
so it's been going more like once a month instead of every weekend. Every Saturday I would get up, start researching, and write a nice little blog. It wouldn't be that long. It'd be an introduction, a few points and then a conclusion, but it still take, you got to be factual.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't use
lose
AI.
credibility.
You know?
Yeah.
Have it, well, I was kind of leading to that. Have you guys ever used AI for any of your type of content and stuff
Not
like
for
that?
anything I'm doing.
Sometimes what I will do though, is like how you're trying to get that sentence just right.
Right.
And it's like, it's all over the place. Make this make sense. And I'll use AI for stuff like that.
Yeah. What do you use typically?
Typically chat GPT.
Yeah, that's a good one. I recently follow this guy who, so a little bit of my background. So I do marketing. I started focusing more into like the search engine optimization realm of things, figuring out like how websites can rank higher in Google and other search engines and stuff. And there's a guy that I follow who he's also another SEO type guy, and he developed this really great, I tested it out, really great prompt for ChatGPT, where when you're trying to write blogs and so like customized blogs, writing them yourself is obviously the best way. But they're very time consuming, like I say,
very.
But he created a really cool prompt for ChatGPT where it's like you find 3 blogs, no matter where they are. It could be your own, could be competitors, anything like that. And you tell ChatGPT, summarize each one of these blogs. And so it summarizes it, and then you say, okay, now write an outline for these, write a blog outline using the information from the blogs that you summarized and as titles. So it'll list out a bunch of titles and like what you can talk about based on each title. And then you say, okay, now write a whole blog based off of that.
Wow.
And so it'll take all that content, all the titles, and it'll just create brand new content, never been written before. And then you'll say, write an introduction, write a conclusion, and then you basically, and then you edit it a little bit yourself to customize it.
Voice,
But you basically, you could write several blogs, maybe 30 minutes for each blog.
Right.
It's a really cool way to
Utilize
create
technology.
new content. Because the thing is that everybody's using AI.
Yeah, everybody.
Correct.
The one thing that I like about AI too is you can tell it what voice to write in. Like you can say, write this as if you are a marketer, or as if you are a business leader, or if you and it'll take that tone and that persona. So that's really cool. I do that at work sometimes. Like with emails, it's like I got the content, know what I want to tell this executive. I just need to really understand. I want it in a certain voice at a certain level. Don't want to go in the weeds. Want to stay up, high level with it, and it'll take you put the information in. It'll take it and transform it, and I can tell it distill that down to one bullet, right, for a PowerPoint or something. So yeah, that works really well.
And even just general stats. If you're writing something more educational, you can say, give me some sort of statistic about this topic that I can add into this piece of content. And you have to fact check it a little bit for them, but I think about 90% of the time it's accurate, because it's learning, and as it learns, it as more people input into the system, those stats become more and more accurate.
I did a project, data and analytics, just doing a prediction model, and couldn't get the Python code right. And I just copy pasted the code in the chat and said, "What's wrong?" And it fixed my code. I was like, "Sweet."
That's the best. That's the best thing in the world.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
It codes for you.
Yeah.
There was one thing I was trying to help a client's site run faster. So a lot of people use for your website. You use like WordPress.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
yeah. Did we use WordPress or no? We use Wix.
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 Well, no, we didn't use WordPress on our site, but
No, we use
I've
Wix.
used WordPress.
Though. I've used WordPress before though.
So a lot of those sites, they're done for you, really convenient. Anybody, and doesn't matter your background, anybody can make a website. They make it really easy. The problem that I've found is that those sites all the time, they prioritize their own type of theme code in there. So no matter what you do, your site's always going to run slightly slower than another site. And so I was trying to figure out, okay, we've done everything we can for this website, but it's still running a little bit slower than we want. And so I put into ChatGPT, how do I coding lazy loading? How do I customize this code to lazy load all of this content below the scroll? Because it just wasn't doing it. Even the plugins on WordPress and Wix that you add in there, it doesn't always do it great. Sometimes you add it where you want to lazy load something and it'll like load the header and the footer first, which also just is not best practices.
Right.
And so took that code and then threw it out there, put it into the theme settings, and then all of a sudden it did exactly what we needed it to do.
Wow.
And like I'm not a coder. He's the coder. I'm not a coder, so it's like one of those things where was able to quickly find a solution to that problem, you know, to make a site run faster for someone who doesn't necessarily code.
That's good.
You know,
really
the one thing that I find interesting is that, just like we said before, as we're sitting here smoking a cigar, we'll start talking about ChatGPT and work and businesses and things of that sort, and it just comes back to the camaraderie, the friendships that you build around just having a drink, having a nice smoke, and just chatting, getting to know people, making connections.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
I think one of the biggest balances I have to challenge myself on is, okay, if I'm gonna smoke a cigar, I gotta go to the gym. 'Cause
Yes.
I could do this all day.
Tell me
the
about
gym.
it.
I gotta ride. I gotta drive past 2 cigar lounges to get to the gym.
gym.
So it's like, you know what? Any excuse. Oh, it's cold. I'm going to the gym.
And that's the blog that I'm currently working on.
Really?
Staying healthy while you're indulging yourself and enjoying cigars and having drinks. And
Well,
stuff.
funny thing is, they say, was it Michael Jordan smokes a cigar? He smokes a cigar before every game.
Yeah.
You
I can't
playing
do it.
basketball, bro.
Yeah.
I
feel like it's after the fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
After the games when I'm smoking.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
about before. That's
But
that's
that
a-
could
that's
be
a
his
whole other
means of
beast.
relaxation.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You know?
man, his lungs got to be strong.
Yeah, he been playing ball.
I mean,
all
you
his
don't
life.
inhale, but still.
Well,
Still,
I'll tell you
nicotine will
what.
bring you down a little bit.
For productivity, there's a lot of very wealthy and successful people out there that swear by when you wake up swear by nicotine and caffeine. Like that's their thing in the morning. They'll like either do a cigarette, cigar, whatever, coffee, and that's what they do in the morning. I know when a friend of mine, their family owns a lake house at the Lake of the Ozarks, and every once in a while we'll do like a week. They'll invite us. We'll do a week there, where we aren't on vacation. It's just kind of a change in scenery to work, And most mornings we'll wake up, sunrise, have a cup of coffee, drink a cigar, and I'll tell you what, that's one of the more productive days I've had. Just waking up, and I feel like that nicotine always gives you the little bit of jolt that you need. Because it almost like caffeine gets your heart rate going, but nicotine almost like focuses the brain just a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing with me. It's like every morning, I make my coffee, go stand out on the deck, drink my coffee. I don't want to drink it in the house. I'm on the deck or outside somewhere, and then I'm ready to go and start the day.
Yeah.
But I have to have that crisp air and that coffee every morning.
So as business owners, so you guys do other things other than just Cigar Buddies.
Yes.
You can talk about that if you want, but just as business owners, what is each of your processes for like how you motivate yourself in the morning, how you kind of get yourself to go, okay, you wake up in the morning, and what kind of drives you, what motivates you, what kind of gets you going to get the creative juices flowing and stuff like
That's
that?
a good question.
I wake up and take a cold shower. Yeah.
Cold shower.
Yeah.
I hear that's it really focuses the brain. It kind of gets your blood flowing and
gets your
stuff
blood
like that.
flowing,
Yeah.
gets the brain operating, and I don't have to be at work until 2:30 in the afternoon. So,
Oh, okay.
so I always smoke a cigar before I go to work, and then I smoke one while I'm at work. So, yeah.
What job do you have?
I got work for General Motors.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
General Motors. That I feel like
yeah.
I might need to change careers. Smoke a cigar at work.
Like your doors on crooked, you know, went through duck line.
Yeah, that's a cigar after lunch.
Right. Now, for me, man, I used to, so I don't do this as much, and I feel I need to get back to it. But I used to write a motivational, like, text and send it out to everybody every morning.
What do you mean send it out to everybody?
Like, I had a group of friends. I'd just copy paste and send it to that group of friends.
That's
morning.
really cool.
Yeah.
Like, what started that?
You know, it was me kind of just talking to myself, kind of like, and documenting what I was thinking. And then I said, you know, how can I turn this emotion into motivation? And so once I started doing it, I shared it with a few people. They were like, send me more, send me more, send me more.
Really cool.
And then it got to a list of about maybe 20 people. Every morning I would do it. And then I've gotten away from it a little bit though.
Oh, you got to get back on that. That's
got
really, really cool.
Super busy. But I was thinking, I talked to a friend of mine named Jerry. He's like, man, you have enough content, because I did it for about a year. He's like, you have enough content for a book. And so I thought about curating all that information somehow and turning it into maybe 10 chapters, something like that.
Well, I mean, you can even start your own, like, you know, everybody has like email lists and text lists. And so you could even start something like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's really, really interesting. There's not a lot of people out there that would necessarily be comfortable enough even to have like a list of people. Like, what started that? What, like, did you just wake up one morning and think of something motivational and just like pick a group of people and just send it out randomly, and everybody was like, "What the heck is this?"
Yeah,
or
not
like,
quite that.
He was sending it to friends.
I was sending it to
lot.
a group of friends. Then I found out some of them they would share it.
Yeah.
And so then I would get a request from somebody like I know that say, "Hey man, I heard you send these out. Can you add me to the list?"
Okay.
And I would add them to the list. They got up to about 20 people. I was sending every day. But then the content, you know, after a year, you're like, okay, what am I going to talk about today? Right. So it got the juices flowing for a long time. And now I think I've gotten away from it for about maybe 3 months.
So did you just prompt it? You just wake up randomly one morning and then you just go and you just add people to a list and you send it out? Like how?
Yes.
Or did you tell people, hey, would anybody be interested in this? Or was it just kind of like everybody was just blindsided with this motivational?
Great question. Initially, it was a few people I work with. And then it started to expand from there, like my sister, my cousin, my niece.
And then us.
And then, them. And then they started sharing. And then I started, a couple guys from the cigar lounges. You know, I would tell them about it. They were like, and I would read it to them. They copy me on that. And then I started copying them. And it just grew from there.
See, that's something that, like, where my brain goes with it is, you know, from a marketing standpoint, is where you would, like on your website, you know, like that's part of your mission statement. You know, that's not just.
That's a good idea.
Like part of your, you know, so for example, my mission has always not just necessarily been marketing and getting money and, you know, all that type of stuff. It's always been like, the start of this whole situation here, this whole podcast is like finding local business owners to promote them. Like after this podcast, you know, what, you know, you guys can expect is, you know, I'll take it, I'll post it, I'll send you guys the video, I'll also send you cut up clips that you guys can share on social and stuff like that, just to promote your business. Because the thing is that the more local small businesses that we can find to promote and be successful, the less money goes to these bigger corporations. Now, I'm not one to always sit there and go, you know, just because someone's a billionaire or just someone owns a big corporation, they're the bad guy. But every time you pay money to a bigger corporation or a bigger company, that money goes other places. You know, but like, think about it. If there was no big corporations in our community, and we were all just paying each other for different services and stuff like that, that money stays within our community.
Exactly.
That's how that community grows. Like, we're all kind of sharing our profits together. We're all paying each other, doing, you know, doing different things. It all comes back around. And that's always been like my main mission with how I run, a business, or how I run the podcast. And, that's kind of how I think of when you have that motivational quote, that could be part of your mission. Is just like, you guys are more than just a brand to educate on cigars, more than just an apparel brand. You're you're a lifestyle.
Right.
Like when people sign up for that text, when they wear your apparel, there's a mentality involved with that, not just a cool shirt, not just education on cigars. There's a mentality that the brand is associated with now. It's being a better person, a better a motivated individual, someone who's trying to better their lives in general.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We experienced that in Tampa when we went down there. We wore our Cigar Buddyz gear the whole time we were there, and people would just walk up to us and they, what is this about? And we would go to different cigar lounges or events and stuff down there, and we would tell them about it. They would get on the website and order something.
That's that's fantastic. Just like getting your overall brand out there, and then that's also not that's the point.
Right.
Like you aren't sitting there sending out texts to sell people.
Right.
But like the text is part of your sales cycle, part of your marketing. Just keeping you top of mind always, but with a different motivation.
Right. I love that, and it's it becomes part of your brain. They expect it, right? And then you could even go as far as to put the text on the back of a shirt, do
The
different
hashtag.
things. Yeah, we talked about QR codes that would connect you to our brand, wearing them on our sleeve, and then if somebody else is interested, they could scan the QR code and stuff like that. So I think there's definitely ways to promote, but you just hit me with that idea. I think you're gonna spark that one.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool because like the more you grow the list, so like I always tell people about there's this email and text provider. It's called Klaviyo. I recommend them to everybody, and I use them for different things. But they're really cool because they're great for small businesses. So up to a certain contact, up to a certain list of people, it's basically free, and you can send out emails for free. But as soon as you get over 2,500 contacts, they make you start to pay for it.
Okay.
But they're one of the only providers that let you send out text messages to a list of people without paying an exorbitant amount.
Right.
There's all these providers out there where it's like, we'll send out a bunch of text messages. Also, it's like $10,000 a month. It's like, all right, cool.
Right.
But this one, you just apply for a number, you get the number, you have people subscribe to it, and then in that case, especially when you're with your phone, even with iPhones, I think there's a limit on the amount of people you can have in a group chat or something. But this one, you could send images with it, but you send out a text message to thousands of people, as you grow that list, and that's a way to kind of scale that part of your business.
That's a good idea.
Klaviyo.
I got
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a really, really cool company, and then it just keeps you top of mind. And then and just think about it. If you did it once a day, you did it once a week, every single time you send that text, your brand is immediately like, if you catch the person at the right time and go, you know what, I should get another shirt. A buddy of mine's birthday's coming up, and he's into cigars. Like, I'm gonna get them this shirt. I think they'll enjoy that.
Exactly. And we've had that too, where people bought things for their family members, stuff like that. One thing though that interests me is spirits and the pairings and stuff like that. So I've talked a little bit about that on the blog too. Like what pairs well with bourbon, scotch, things like that. And I like opposites, right? If I'm smoking a cigar that has more of I don't like sweet tips, but a sweeter flavor. I like a stronger alcohol, right? And
Okay.
Then I flip it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
I feel like if it's too strong and they'll cancel each other. I don't know if that's true or not, but
And you don't get the full taste of the other that you're trying to get.
something's doing something to the other, right?
Right.
So what's your favorite if you had to pick, each one of you,
Okay.
what's your favorite cigar spirit pairing?
Oh,
I tell you right now, I like the Stillwell and Angel's Envy.
Angel's Envy.
that's good.
Sounds
That's a
great.
good one. That's a good one.
That's a good one. I'm a Rocky Patel disciple, and that Johnny Walker Scotch. I like the black double black.
The
So
black
that's
label's
probably-
great. Yeah.
That's probably my.
Yeah. And I'm thinking EP Carrillo Allegiance with Johnny Walker Blue, which is hard to come by.
Yeah, that blue.
Yeah.
Is,
Blue, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you
GM
guys
money
had
right
all
there.
the Johnny? Have you tried them all? All the Johnny
Not
Walkers?
all of them. I haven't had the red one.
I haven't had the red and I haven't had the blue.
I think the red's like the
That's the-
lowest
yeah.
one.
Mhm.
It's fine. Then there's a green label I
The
discovered.
green
Yeah,
one,
I just- yeah, I just-
I think the green is the green or the blue the top.
The blue is the top.
The blue is the top.
yeah.
Okay.
The green is like a single malt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the gold is a reserve, and then the black, double black, and then there's the red.
Okay.
So-
So what's your favorite? Like Scotch, whiskey, tequila?
I like them all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love bourbon and Scotch, man. Those are my
Yeah.
two go-tos.
Okay.
Uh,
Like you just let's put it this way. You guys made a big breakthrough in your business, you know, like this is the day that you opened your mobile cigar lounge. You guys are like, we did it,
Right.
we're opening it, we're celebrating. What cigar are you having and what spirit are you having?
tough.
It is funny because we will all have a different bottle.
Right.
Yeah, we've had a lot of different bottles, definitely.
Yeah. So I have a bottle of Shea in the car.
Yeah.
I'll probably crack that open. That's a cognac though, and I'm not a big cognac drinker.
That's Shannon Sharp, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll probably open that though, so I can get my Cat Williams on for a little while. And cigar wise, wow, that's a tough one because I like so many cigars. You know, there's this one though. It's a 1962 by Camacho. That's probably the one I'll get.
Okay.
And it, no.
No.
I'm gonna go with the Davidoff Late Hour.
Yeah, that was late
I'm
hour,
gonna go
yeah.
with the Late Hour.
Yeah, that was the shit, bro.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Late Hour and that cognac.
Okay.
And I'll be checking his box for another late hour.
Yeah. And what do you got?
I would have to say the late hour as well, because that's a well put together cigar.
Yeah.
And it'll give you a little bit of a buzz. But
So
it's-
Camacho late hour?
No.
Oh, wait,
Davidoff.
Davidoff.
Okay.
Davidoff.
So the Camacho, they have a 1962 Camacho, and it has pre-embargo Cuban tobacco in it.
Okay.
So I don't know how many runs they did of that, but I can find it sometimes at Tinderbox over on Lindbergh.
Okay. Yeah, I like that place.
And
So about my first pipe.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually before you got here, it was just I grew up in Florissant
Oh, okay.
as well. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Right by Barrington Downs.
Okay, yeah, you're right around the corner. You grew up right around the corner from where I live now.
Okay.
Yeah. So they had a box of them sitting out. I bought one, tried it, and then I wish I would have bought like 5.
That's always how it
Yeah,
goes.
they had one box. I was like, it was gone, but it was delicious, man. The tobacco, it burned even, nice, clean smoke. The draw was perfect.
I gotta try that.
Tobacco was from 1962. That's
How do you
old it
even
was.
keep that?
Right?
Like, how do you
right.
even like?
I don't know, but
We're just talking about
Well,
like
you got
you know.
tobacco from 1962.
right.
Well, how do you even keep it fresh? Like
Yeah.
you know, I feel like a lot of people struggle just with their humidors in general. Just
Man,
like, you know.
man, you got to check that thing at least once a week, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you could have, like I have 2 humidors. One holds 50 cigars, one holds like 300.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine how much money if I just let it go.
If you didn't
Right.
check it.
Oh,
Yeah, if you didn't check it, yeah. It's a lot of
A
money.
lot of money.
I know, and then like you sit there and you go, well, these can't go to waste, you know. So you end up smoking. You're like,
Best I can. You're holding it together like this.
You're doing a whole little FIFO inventory. I got to reach this one way in the back first.
The Crown Reserve is a good one,
Crown
too.
Reserve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good drink. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Real smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with me, it's definitely going to either be a whiskey or cognac.
okay.
I'm not really into the bourbon stuff.
But if money's no object, I'm going
Oh,
for
yeah.
Pappy's.
Money, no
Oh,
object.
money, no
Oh,
object.
of course.
Yeah,
Have you ever tried Pappy's?
No.
I'm
no.
pulling out the
think
Louis if
do they
money
have
is
it
no
here?
object, you know?
I think they do. They have it here? I know they have some higher end whiskeys, like
Yeah.
like $100 and a shot or
$100
something
a shot,
like that.
yeah. I don't know if they have Pappy's here or
I
not.
wonder, Van Winkle, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah,
If money
yeah.
is no object.
Money
Well,
no
money's
object.
no object. Just try it
Yeah,
once.
gonna go with the Pappy's or the Louis.
Louis,
Yeah.
Louis.
I had came across a bottle of George T. Stagg one time. Have you guys ever had that
I
one?
haven't.
So that's a Buffalo Trace
Okay.
one where it's like their highest end one. I used to be really into beers for a while. I would go to like the beer releases around the country, and this is my subtle flex, that I always a little humble brag, that I always put. So I went to this beer release in Munster, Indiana, and it was kind of a lottery where you go there, everybody gets 4 of the beer that they're releasing, and then they always had like variants of it. And there was one variant that they did of it that they only made like 10 of them or something, and there's 20,000 people at this release.
Wow.
Oh wow.
And so I just hand in my ticket, I get this bag, and I pull out this bottle, and then I just get like swarmed with people. Like one guy immediately, he's like, "I'll give you $300 right now for that bottle of beer," and I was like, I don't know what I have here, so I was gonna hold it. If you're handing me $300 cash, I feel like, yeah. So
That's a week later, it's worth $1,000.
I talked to a few people, figured out kind of what it was worth, and found a guy online who's like, "Hey, I'll trade you this bottle of whiskey," which is like, I think at the time it's like $800 or something like that. And he's like, "I'll trade you this bottle of whiskey for that bottle of beer." And I was like, I mean, I like beer, but like you open up a beer.
$800 bottle of whiskey though,
Yeah.
You open a beer, that's a one-day experience, where the bottle of whiskey is a multiple-day
Right.
experience.
Yes.
So I traded that, and I'll never see that bottle of whiskey ever
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
But I think it would be something like that, like a Pappy or
Yeah.
a Stag.
Yeah.
He bought me for my birthday one time the best cigar I've ever had. It was a Monte Cristo. It was like a black and gold label or something like that. It was aged like 20 years or something like that. Yeah, it was like the best cigar I've ever had. You bought one for yourself too.
I think I just went and got like something that was $40 or something.
Yeah. It was like
Okay.
one of the
It was
best.
the most expensive. I just went in there and
You
like,
splurged.
the most expensive I've ever had. That was like,
Yeah.
So I feel like cigars is one of those things too. We were talking about wines and whiskeys and stuff, where sometimes just where it's made, but cigars typically track, and also alcohol typically tracks. Like if you buy the most expensive alcohol, most expensive cigar you can find, it's probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree
So-
with that.
All right, you guys have the mobile cigar lounge that you're eventually do. What's gonna take to get you there? So you have a 7-year plan. What's kind of, where are you at now, and then what's the next step?
The next step is getting our own cigar.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
good. So that's going to require a tobacco license, working. We would love to work with a major brand like Rocky Patel, somebody like that, because they will do a boutique for us,
Okay.
which would be really cool. And then we think we got the distribution then, right?
Yeah.
So we got it in all the lounges, and that's going to really start to generate
So
some
they
income.
do they do all that for you, or is that kind of on you all to find the cigar lounges, and is it a St. Louis thing first and then just expand from there, or just
That's a good
everywhere at
question.
once?
Yeah,
I'm
we're not
pretty
sure.
sure they would do some sort of test marketing on it. See how it tracks. As far as the blend, we would work with them on that. And then once we figure out the blend, of course, then they would brand it. What I've seen that they did with some others, they brand, it has their logo and label at the top. And then the footer has the band, like Cigar Buddyz.
Like
Have
Ray
your,
Lewis's.
have your logo, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
Like
So-
Ray Lewis's,
Yeah.
Baltimore, when they ran out online, but you could always get them in Baltimore.
okay,
Yeah,
Right.
at a cigar lounge. Yeah.
So that's part of the goal. But if we could source our own, get our own blend, get our own roller, and something consistent, because that's the thing. You can't
Consistency.
buy the cigar today and it's one way, and then the next time you buy it, it's something totally different, right?
Right.
You got to
Yeah.
find the right blend, something you can stick with, something you're good with, and then production.
Well, that's always the thing I've found with certain cigar brands is as soon as they start, and I think this tracks across all different industries, as soon as they start mass producing, the quality starts to go down. So how do you guys kind of see, how are you going to navigate that a little bit?
You know, that's something we'd have to look into. You know, how many hand rolls can you really
Right.
roll,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's just, you know, some of the more exclusive ones, what I've found is that they'll do a limited run, they call it, right? Where they'll only do 200 boxes.
Cool.
And then, you know, if it's good, man, and hard to get, price point.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah. And then it's also one of those things where you distribute a certain way, but everybody always knows that if they come to St. Louis,
Right.
they'll always be able to get your cigar.
Correct.
You know, at
Right.
a certain
Yeah.
at a certain
Yeah, yeah.
location,
There's-
in certain place.
So we do it when we do events. We find that, right? There's cigars you can't get in certain markets, especially from the smaller cigar, you know, boutiques.
Yeah.
So when we go to Tampa, you can get certain cigars that you won't see in a lounge here anywhere. I remember when I first started smoking, I went to the Dominican Republic, and Don Lucas Cigars. We visited the factory, and the guy they showed us the whole rolling process, the fermentation process. Rolled us about 5 cigars each. Showed us how to cut them, light them, everything. That's when I started smoking cigars.
Yeah,
And,
that could pretty much get anybody hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
Do you guys know how to roll?
I'm
No.
not.
Is it something you're gonna learn how to do?
Yeah.
I
Like
was,
when you have your mobile lounge, like are you gonna like
That'd
you know
be
because
so
like
cool.
Yeah.
I was just telling the other day, one of the things I want to do is learn how to roll a cigar.
And there's a company in
Florida?
Ybor City,
Yep.
and La Ferrona Cigars. We got to meet the owner of that, and she hand rolls a lot of her own cigars.
that's great.
Yeah.
And she has a class. I think it's like $250 too.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like
There's
a
I think there's a
8-hour
place in
class.
St. Louis. When I was getting married, my dad kept pushing me to get this for my wedding, like a cigar. Like there's a cigar roller. The guy comes up,
Oh,
he,
yeah?
he sets everything up, and then he'll have some ones already ready, and then he'll just sit there and he'll just roll them for you and stuff like
Yeah.
right in front of you, hand it to you, and
Yeah.
ready to
I think
go.
they've had that event like that here a couple
They
times.
have.
haven't they?
Yeah.
Scott did one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who else, but I remember Scott. He can roll some cigars.
Yeah. And then you got STL cigars.
STL cigars, Hubbard.
And then you got Hubbard. And then you got my man Marv.
Marv, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Mahogany.
it- Mahogany, yeah.
Mahogany cigars. Yeah.
So what type of events do you guys typically do?
More social like this, right?
Okay.
Everybody, let's meet at a lounge and smoke, talk, laugh, listen to music.
Yeah.
Just it's more about the I think the camaraderie, right, and the atmosphere. One of the most fun ones was here though, right?
Okay.
We had 14, 15 probably people, and it wasn't really planned. We just all ended up here, and I brought a game called Culture Tags, and we was drinking and playing this
Oh,
game.
yeah, I
and
remember
smoking.
that.
And we had a great time. So just really about just hanging out, having fun, right?
Yeah.
And then when we travel, though, those are more planned events like festivals or seminars.
Okay.
Like Big Smoke or
Yes.
something like that, where you want to go learn about the industry. But then they'll have, a lot of social gatherings and stuff like that in the evenings and stuff like that. So
And make a few connections.
yeah,
Now, do you guys typically post these in like your groups, or okay, and then just kind of
Yeah.
whoever?
yeah. Whoever shows up,
Okay.
Yeah, and we got a pretty decent following. So
You said you had like 600 in the group, right?
yeah,
Yeah. A little over 600. Yeah.
So have you ever like sat there and go, okay, we're gonna throw an event at Lit, we're gonna post this in the group, and 300 people showed up
Oh
or
my
something
God.
like that. Like,
Yeah. That would be.
I don't know.
That was-
sorry guys.
I don't know if they're ready for it.
That would be lit.
Yeah, we haven't done
Yeah.
that one yet. One of
Yeah.
the biggest events here, though, is that Cigars and Sundresses. So we just go. I don't.
We just
Yeah,
attend.
attend.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have a great time. I think they had 10,000 people. Last
Last
Yeah,
year.
in
Yeah.
St. Charles.
Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to definitely ask you all about is when you're doing your apparel. When we were originally talking, you said your apparel is actually more popular with women.
Yes.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit more. Just like
Surprised
the
us.
Yes. Surprise
Oh,
us.
that's off guard.
Yeah.
But I think that demographic, women in cigars, is
It's
growing
growing.
like
It's
crazy.
booming.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about the pop out of the roof right now.
Yeah.
Now, is there a particular
So,
demographic of women that you find it resonates with most, or is it just across the board, just women in general?
For me, just the friends that I have on Facebook, they're all walks of life. I've seen more women posting about cigars than I do my guys, the men.
Interesting.
You know, and it really is more of a social thing for them, more than anything else.
And I think a lot of them are professional.
Yep.
I'm not going to put an age on it, but I'm thinking 35, 40 and up.
Interesting. Okay.
That's what I see anyway. And some of the people I hang out with are in that demographic.
Yeah.
And they
Okay.
buy a lot of apparel.
And they just kind of discover it on their own, or they're introduced? Because like,
Well, I think it's a movement, and they are catching on to that movement as far as, you know, being in cigar lounges, being there socializing, things of that sort. Because as many times, you know, like with me, and I kind of noticed this a lot, people will come in and ask your opinion on what kind of cigar they would get.
Yeah.
But they're in the lounge, they're there on their own, or with girlfriends or whatever. Like, hey, I never smoked before. What should I buy?
yeah.
Well, what do you smoke? You know, you on a vape, or you on a cigarette, different types of things of that sort. So I think, you know, it's just being that this is what's popular right now, then oh my gosh, I like this, you know? So it just grows from there.
But I also think the environment too is safe. Like we talked about earlier.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about a lot of things you might have to worry about in a club or something
Yeah.
like that, you know.
You don't have to worry about a fight breaking out,
Right.
you know?
Usually
Right.
good music, sometimes live music. A lot of, you know, people love live music, jazz, things like that. So you get just a different experience, and I think it's starting to draw that demographic a little
It's
bit.
a more relaxed environment than being
Yeah.
in a club.
Yeah. definitely.
So at what point did you sit there? Did you realize that women, your product and your
That-
business was primarily resonating with women? So first of all,
When you get
put a
cornered-
percentage on it. If you had,
When you got cornered, you're like, yo, well, what do you have for us?
if you had to put a percentage on it, what would you say men versus women
About
customers?
70-30.
Yeah.
70-30,
Yeah.
70 women.
Yeah.
Well, when
Yeah.
it comes to the apparel.
When it comes to the apparel, yeah.
And then how have you once you realize that, how have you geared your business towards that?
Mainly with the logos, right?
Yeah.
We'll make sure we have a logo of a woman smoking a cigar. Yeah, it's in the book. And we also started to look at different types of logos that cater to women. Some of the colors of the apparel, you know, and the cut. Like we have T-shirts that are cut for women. And
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
V-necks, and they have the hourglass shape to
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah.
that instead of doing the unisex shirt,
Right.
you know,
I'm gonna hold that up.
Yeah, that's
I'll take that up, hold
that's
it
a
up.
really, really cool logo.
yeah. So these are the two logos, the original logos, and this is what you will find on our website.
Our website.
Yeah.
And also, you know, with most men, we're gonna wear a T-shirt or something of that sort. With a lot of our apparel that's geared towards women, you can get the sundresses or, you know, long tees, just different types of things that they've asked for that we've done on a custom standpoint
tank
for
tops,
someone. Tank
yeah.
tops. things
So you
of that
guys do a
sort.
lot of customs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I think that's just the way things are going now. People want their own style. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
not necessarily that mass-produced thing. They want something that they can call their own.
Yeah.
Have some friends that are in sororities. They want their sorority colors
Cool.
on their shirts, and
Yeah.
we've done some mugs and things like that too, where we get those custom made for people.
So sororities, like they used to be in sororities,
No, still-
or
still
they're
are,
in
yeah.
sororities
Yeah.
right
In
now.
sororities.
So we can actually
And grad
change.
chapters and things of
So
that
we can
sort.
change the logos to their sorority colors, but still keep the logos.
So what colleges would you say have you gotten reached out,
I would
or are
say
you allowed
not,
to share
not
that?
necessarily colleges, but like we did a cup for a young lady that's a AKA. We've done
Deltas.
some Delta cups and
Okay.
stuff like
Sigmas,
that. Yeah.
Sigma Gamma
And it's just
Rho.
mainly the colors. You know, we can't really put their logo, their symbols on them without some sort
Yeah.
of agreement with them, right? But somebody say, I want a pink and green one, and you know,
Yeah.
so I'll have we have a young lady that does the designs, and we'll send a sample. Yeah, that's what I want, and then she'll make it, and then we'll make sure it gets to the customer.
Yeah, and some of the colors are trademarked that we can't use
Right.
the
Right. We can't just
exact
mask.
color.
Yeah.
and
Close
things of that
enough,
sort.
yeah.
close
But
enough, yeah.
but when we do a specific cup, it's just like that sorority sister going to any shop saying, "Hey, I'm a part of this sorority. can you make me this cup that's their one specific, there's no other like it?
Yeah.
And it uses their specific colors because
really
it's unique to that person that is actually in the sorority or the fraternity.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really really cool. That you guys just like whoever customize. So
right.
like when you use your logos, so like there's a lot of different types of logos in there.
Right.
Obviously, there's the main logos that you customize. A lot of different brands are able to do that. Do you ever deviate, or do you ever say, hey, whatever anybody wants, we'll make some apparel with that, or do you kind of say, is there a line that when it comes to customizing a certain logo or design that you go, no, we aren't gonna, it has to be
It has
this.
to be. Yeah, it has to be
Within a
this, but
certain-
we just change the colors on it.
Like within
Yeah.
a certain brand
Yeah,
guideline.
right.
Okay.
Right, because you get that far. We, our
Yeah.
one, it's gonna cost
It's
more.
cost,
Our cost goes
time.
up like crazy. And if you're only doing one, like the main company we deal with, they do templates.
Okay.
So it would cost so much to get that template made for one shirt. That,
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to deviate too far because then you lose your
Your
brand
identity.
recognition.
Yeah,
Right.
you lose your identity and brand recognition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the logo is consistent, like the style of the logo. Excuse me, it is consistent across the board. Just changing the colors. I guess what. Oh, this is kind of fun. Have you ever been given a request that you have just kind of said no to?
Not that I can think of.
Not
Yeah.
that I can think of. No.
Okay.
No, because we'll allow people to give us a color shirt that they want with the logo and whatever color the logo they want it. So they can pick out whatever color shirt they want. It's not just necessarily black or white.
Right.
Okay.
On our website, you pull it up and I think there's 20 different colors that you can choose from.
Okay. And this is all primarily word of mouth, or people finding you organically? They just find your website, or
So we have a link in our Facebook page. Right at the top, it's pinned at the top that you can go to.
Yeah.
And anything we like, if I put up a blog out there, I'll put the www dot and out there, and I'll put a hashtag Cigar Buddyz, Cigar Beauty, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've done shirts for like, was it Annie Malone Day, May Day, or something like that?
No, we did
before?
like Juneteenth.
Yeah, I saw the
Juneteenth,
Juneteenth
yeah,
one. That's
yeah.
that's a cool one.
Yeah.
We've done we did a Santa
Yeah, Santa's
swim
dead.
where instead of the crown, he has a Santa hat on.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the shirt that you have now is that exact shirt, but instead of the crown, it has a red Santa hat on, red white Santa hat on.
Well, the
Christmas.
Juneteenth one was kind of cool because when I first saw it, I didn't realize it was Juneteenth right away
Yeah.
until you said something, because I'm Italian. My family's all Italian,
Right.
and the colors are kind of similar.
Yeah.
with
Okay.
the red and white.
We've noticed
and
that
stuff,
too. Like some people say, okay, those are Jamaica colors.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interchangeable.
Yeah.
It's interchangeable. It's also the Mardi Gras colors too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. Now, do you guys do any sort of advertising or anything like that?
Not right now.
No,
No.
no advertisement. Just a simple link and word of mouth.
Okay.
People in the group know and it spreads.
And a lot of
especially when you're
people-
wearing your shirts, like, hey, where'd
Right.
that come from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me
that's
about
where,
that,
That's where a lot
you
of
know?
it comes from. Or you see like somebody wearing it, and they'll pair it up real nice, and they'll take a picture and post it on our group site, and then you'll see the comments. Where'd you get the shirt and stuff like
Right.
that. So
That's so cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's like one of those points in your business where you're just like, okay, something's happening right now.
happening.
because People are
I
asking
think
about
Craig
it.
used the word movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
and that's where you're growing organically,
Mm-hmm.
more than, like you say, through advertising and things of that sort. But yes, definitely advertisement and pushing it out there more, especially through social media, is one of my targets. Getting on different platforms.
it's
put it
the
out there.
it's the way of the way of the world right now.
Yeah.
Now, at what point? Because this is something that always interested me, and this is something that like I'm sitting here thinking about to myself on a daily basis. At what point, where is that moment where you all sit there and go, okay, we are comfortable enough to where we got to quit our day jobs?
Oh, we're waiting on that day to come.
That's,
At what point have you identified that moment? Have you identified that point to where when it happens, like you've established, okay, when this thing happens, we're ready? Or are you just kind of sitting there thinking, and when the time is right, like we'll know it when it comes.
I think I'm on the latter side of
I'm
it.
on the latter side of it. Yeah.
It's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard to
it's-
decide because you don't know when it's gonna, if
Right,
it's gonna.
right,
you know.
right.
I think for all of us, one of the things we're not going to do is that leap of faith. That revenue has to be generated and be consistent.
You guys got families.
Yes, exactly.
You know, that's I think that's the thing.
That's
Is
the
like
thing.
there's a lot of people that I talk to. One person that I talk to all the time that I do work with every once in a while. She started. She always did like W-2 work, regular job. Then she started going into contract, and then as like, I think it actually started over COVID when everybody was getting fired and stuff like that, where she's kind of started doing her own thing. She's like, as soon as I quit my job, now I'm not saying this is for everybody,
Right.
she's like, as soon as I quit my job, then it all just blew up because you could spend more time to it.
Right.
And then my thing with that has always been, like I have a wife, kid,
Right.
one on the way,
Responsibilities.
and it's like, that's not, you can't just
Yeah.
like take that leap of faith. You know,
Right.
you got
Right.
mouths to feed, you got a roof, you gotta
But
maintain.
I think one thing though, if you have to kill what you eat,
Right.
you're gonna put everything into it. Like,
Right.
Absolutely.
You know,
And-
and the market, man, for just even the apparel. There's people out here making $25,000, $30,000 a month selling T-shirts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the opportunity's there. It's you got to find that right,
You got to get in the right lane.
right lane. And I
Yeah.
think we in the lane. We just
But-
have to do more on the marketing side, on the promotion side, and things
Yeah.
like that. And then
Yeah.
we'll start to, because we have orders, man, from all over the country right now, but it's not
That's great.
at the volume.
Yeah.
We want.
It's
yeah.
a niche market.
Yeah, we just got to put a little nitrous behind it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let it blow up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think as you build the business, as you build the company, that all starts to fall into place. So like as you like talked about starting your own, potentially cigar
Yeah.
going. Once you have that brand, even with the motivational text that you're sending out, once you have that thing that it's not just a cool logo, it's not just a cool design anymore. There's a mentality
Yeah.
behind it. There's
Yeah.
something that everybody is associating with. I think that's when it really starts to
Yeah.
explode.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
yeah.
for me, it's like once you get to that point, or our business get to that point, that we're having to hire personnel, we are working out of a brick and mortar somewhere, and the biggest thing is, as far as being salaried and things of that sort, you have to think about your true benefits of having an employer
Right.
pay your medical, your
Right,
insurance,
right.
your 401k,
That's something
your
no one ever
investments,
thinks
your
about,
bonuses, all of those things.
But hey,
have to be
if you
substantiated
become
by the
millionaires
business. There
off
you
of
go.
this business,
Right.
you don't need that.
exactly,
Yeah, you
exactly.
don't need
Money's no object.
Yeah.
I always say I want to gift my job to somebody.
Right, right. I want to gift it to someone else. You
Yeah.
can have
There you
it.
go.
Right.
You can go do these data and analytics and Python codes yourself. So
Yeah. So what do you guys see in your everyday jobs that kind of apply to this endeavor?
man, for me, it's data analytics. I work for MasterCard.
Yeah.
So a lot of the payments and how you can, there's so many ways to pay for stuff now. It's ridiculous.
Right.
If somebody owe you money, you should be able to get it, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
There's no excuse
there's
anymore.
No
Right.
excuse. You can make money online. You got the gig economy. You have literally we have mobile credit card. Like if you want to buy a shirt, and you don't have any cash, we can take the payment right there.
That's
Yeah.
great.
All that. So it's so many ways to make money. All that applies for me from my full-time job because I see all the technology behind the networks that facilitate those transactions. So
Right.
And for me, being in compliance is the rules, regulations, different laws and things that we have to follow.
Which is a very underrated, things that a lot of people starting a business don't even think about, don't even recognize that they
Right.
need necessarily.
Yeah, all the different filings, everything you have to do. So you can see, just from the operational standpoint of it all.
Yeah. I think that's something that a lot of people are missing is good operations.
yeah,
You
know,
that's
just
the
like-
backbone, man.
Right.
Yeah.
I used to be in consulting, and our boss, he would always say, process run business and people run processes. If you don't have that cycle, something's gonna break, right? You can't have a business without processes behind it to keep it running. You can't have processes without people or technology to run those processes. So you gotta have all three. Now, Duck's more the creative,
marketing, artistic.
Yes, I
the
do
creator.
I do the artistic side of it and the quality side of it.
Now, you create a lot of the logos.
Yeah.
Do a lot of that. I know you said you use Canva a lot, which is, don't knock Canva.
Yeah, you
Right.
can't
Like
knock it.
Canva's basically, I mean, they're given Adobe and the kind of those industry leaders that run for their money now.
Right.
I do marketing and I started out in graphic design and stuff like that. And if I had Canva back in the day, oh my goodness, like.
I don't know if you've been on there lately though. They
It's
have a
freedom of
whole
use.
AI engine.
Oh yeah, I use it. I
yeah.
use it right. I use it now. Even it just makes things so much easier. It's such a time
It
saver.
really does.
A lot
It
of-
really
a lot of
does.
stuff.
And it's really hard to create things without deviating from the original logo.
Right.
And it's really hard, but we manage.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I like about it, Doug, is that you can do it on the fly. You can.
Yeah.
He can design something on his
On my phone.
on his
yeah.
phone.
You do it on your
Yeah.
phone. You sit
Yeah.
down with
Ooh, I got an
somebody.
idea.
Say, hey, I want a custom.
Yeah.
I want your logo on a T-shirt, but I can I get my brand
Yeah.
colors on it? And you can sit there on your phone and just like, here we go. How's this look?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Like the logo that I showed you earlier with the cigar and the two logos on it, like the Cardinals baseball bat. We were sitting at the rack house and somebody said, man, that would be a great shirt. And I just did it on my phone within like 5 minutes. And then when I got home, got on my computer, cleaned it up and everything and sent it to the t-shirt company and they processed it all. Yeah.
So there's the one in there that has like the shield.
Yeah.
And has the date you guys were
Yeah.
established and stuff.
Yeah.
I was just talking. I was like, that'd be a really cool one. Like even thinking about it now,
I'm
like
in the process
you
of
go
getting
to,
that one made.
Well, I was gonna say you could go to like a
polo.
STL City game, put it on like a soccer jersey, and it looks
Yeah.
like a soccer jersey. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Good
like it looks
idea.
like the typical soccer logos, that everybody has.
I need
Yeah.
to change my order. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that one because, even in business sometimes, just being in business, my type of organization, you cannot wear anything that represents tobacco, alcohol, things of that sort. But that type of shirt, I can wear a polo with just that shield on it,
Right.
with the date that was established,
Yeah.
and just put in the QR code on the sleeve.
Yeah, that's the founders edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had some requests too from like golf teams, stuff like, can you get me a polo because they have to wear a collar shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've seen requests like that too.
Yeah.
Like a nice polo
Yeah.
logo on the chest, not real big.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've seen requests.
Now, have you
like
guys ever done any sort of like sponsorships for not like physical like money sponsors, but like making
Yeah.
T-shirts or anything like that?
No, not at
that.
the moment.
Not
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea though.
I was just thinking like
Like
I
kickball
played
or
rugby
something.
in college for a while, and all of my friends who I still hang out with them, talk to them, used to play rugby,
yeah.
all into cigars.
Right.
Really?
And you have like the Ramblers and
Right.
the Hornets and stuff in St. Louis, and I'm just thinking like it's like a Cigar Buddyz rugby team,
Yeah,
just sitting out
that
there
would
with
be
the
great,
jerseys and stuff.
Man, that'd be cool.
Yeah, or even in the future to be able to do like, some of the softball teams. A lot of people still playing
Right.
softball.
Especially the local
Yeah.
ones, man, like the AAU teams and stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You
I don't want the
gotta
kids
move it away
with
from
the-
tobacco.
Yeah,
but-
yeah. You don't want
You
the
know.
kids with the tobacco
Well,
shirt
yeah,
on.
maybe not the kids, but like the beer leagues and
Yeah, the
stuff.
beer
you know?
leagues,
Yeah.
'Cause that's your guys' primary marketing
right, right.
tactic
Yeah.
is
Right.
wearing your
Yeah.
shirts. People see the shirts, and they're like, "Oh, what's
Yeah.
Yeah.
what's
But
going on?" You're in a
Especially pool leagues. There's a lot of pool leagues.
pool
that's
leagues.
going
That's
on.
that's a great
Yeah.
one because a lot of those there's the
I've been
is
talking
it the
to a few
Pink
guys. that-
Galleon?
that do it.
Pink Galleon.
Yeah.
Pink Galleon. Like, you can smoke in there. You can smoke cigars,
Yeah.
cigarettes, stuff in there. Have a league with that. It's really interesting. A lot of
Yeah.
opportunity.
A lot of opportunities.
Right.
Yeah,
You
just
gotta
gotta
capitalize.
just gotta
Especially with
capitalize
apparel.
on it. Yeah.
You guys started, in my opinion, I think you started at the spot that a lot of brands eventually try to get to. But
Yeah. They try to backdoor into it.
Yeah.
Right,
After
you know,
the fact.
there's always this thought of like multiple stream when you start a business, multiple streams of income. You know, one, for nonprofits, for example, you have a stream of income where people are donating to the cause and stuff. But like, can you sell apparel? Can you do this? Can you do that? And like, there's always that. Okay, now let's add apparel to our brand and stuff. But this, you've already started the apparel. People have the apparel. They like the apparel. Now, like, how else can we do to like grow that side of things? It's really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. I see a lot of alcohol brands. Buffalo Trace, they have cigars and everything too.
Maker's Mark.
Maker's
Mark. Pappy's.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well, there you go.
Yeah.
Just have a trying to think of your packaging. It's like, Maker's Mark has the even on their cigars they have the wax.
Yeah, the wax.
Yeah, that kind of goes off.
Hard to get open too, man.
Yeah.
Even the bottle though, it's like
Maker's Mark came out with one when the Rams were still in town. They came out with a Rams themed one. So typically they dip once in the wax, and it's already pretty hard. This one, it was a double dip. So it went gold and then blue, which it was impossible to open. It was like a half an inch thick of wax.
Maybe like I'm just gonna put this on the shelf because it looks good.
That's great. No, this was great. I appreciate you guys kind of sitting, talking about the business and stuff like this.
Well, I'm glad we met you.
This is awesome.
Yeah, glad we're like nosy, like what they.
Let's
go find
out. It's hard to miss us.
Right.
I know, that's why I was always surprised when we first set up here. Me and him, just for fun, just set up a camera. I got a brand new camera and I was like, let's test it out. I got some new mics. I was like, let's test it out. So we ended up just shooting the shit, playing a game of chess.
You got the chess off the wall right up there and just
start playing.
Yeah, and then then someone walks up and they're like, hey, what are you guys doing over here? I don't know, we're just whatever. So you want to come on? And that's kind of how you guys did. So that's kind of how we're building it.
Yeah, we did have an idea around because man, you'd be surprised at the different kinds of conversations that come up when you're sitting around a lounge smoking cigars.
Right.
And so we were like smoky conversations. Like when you go to our website, we have a space for blogs.
I love that. Yeah, I love that aspect of it. And now do you guys? I looked at the website a little bit. Do you guys have kind of like a discussion forum and stuff like that?
Not yet. That's a piece we have to build on. And I look at the equipment because we were like, what do we buy?
Right.
I bought a mic.
Exactly.
And I'm like, okay, what software do we need to edit? And so we're still learning in that space.
A little gimbal for the iPhone, like that. That's not gonna cut it.
I had a little iPhone thing, like he's talking. He's talking. That didn't work. So
well, these are really cool. I got this is a new one. These mics right here are really nice because they have a plug-in where you take the receiver and it has like an iPhone or an Android plug and you stick it right into your phone and the mic connects to the video right away, and so it sounds like professional because sometimes you're talking on the phone, it's just echoey, sometimes you can't hear it. So that's one of the cool aspects of that I found. Inexpensive for the most. It's not inexpensive, but it's a relatively decent investment to like make a little bit better content as you're talking, and then like as you do, if you go into the Instagram or Facebook lives and stuff like that, you could just plug it right into your phone, put a couple mics on someone, and then the receiver will take it, and then everybody hears perfectly.
Yeah, you need to get like a camera in the middle of the table, and put it on like something that spins around and do like that 70s show,
Right.
It's like whenever you're talking, you just spin that too.
Actually, that's a great idea. That's a great idea for content where you just have like you guys just sitting around a table and then just move the camera. There's smokes in the room. It's like it's almost the same vibe.
It looks like you were hiding with the smoke.
But I've seen these mics a lot on Instagram. A lot of people, like the ones that go to the gym and they have all of their content about gyms and stuff, and all of them wear these mics. Yeah, and some of them actually have cameras on them.
Yeah, no, they're fantastic. I think these were. What do we pay for these? 200?
Hey, better two for
250?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 250. It
that's not bad at all.
comes with a receiver, so you can see the levels, know you're recording. Each mic has its own memory card built in.
Oh, wow.
It gets about 5 hours. We could talk here for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be
Okay.
fine. And then, but it's like 15 hours total. It has its own charging case, and then different plugins for like a camera or phone or something like that. It's really
that's
cool.
cool.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
$20 ain't bad.
Yeah, if you guys ever need any
Yeah,
advice on like
reaching out
how
to
to like
advice,
you know
yeah.
just like if you're trying to like build your content, like what type of equipment that's not break the bank type stuff. That's always the big thing. It's like
Right.
yeah, I want to make some content, but
The
like
van is interesting though. I was thinking about the van that you guys were talking about. Like, do you guys know like what goes into that? Like in terms of like screwing the furniture down. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
have you thought about
Well,
like that?
well, hold on.
One
Let
of the
me
things-
just in
Yeah,
case.
I want
He was asking about the van and what kind of goes into making sure that you can have a good mobile cigar lounge. One, like obviously if you're just kind of sitting there, it's a different thing than driving to Kansas City, you know,
Right,
or
right.
something for the Chiefs game. Kind of what goes into that. Have you guys looked into that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
there's quite a few custom shops
Yeah,
around
that's-
that does that
exactly.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing I would wonder about though is how do we keep it ventilated, you know, so you don't have a van full of smoke you can't see.
Right.
Yeah.
So part of it is the ventilation, the decor. I mean, the sky's the limit, right? How much
Right.
do you want to spend?
I mean, you can do pretty much whatever you
Exactly.
want, you know.
Exactly. You can have. I mean, I've seen the one Sprinter we saw in Tampa. This thing looked like, I don't know, man, like a luxury limousine inside of a Sprinter. Right.
Okay.
Leather benches, big screen TV on the back.
Yeah.
Great sound system. They had a mini bar in there. It's like, wow, all this in this little space.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
they also have a small ventilation thing called the rabbit that you can put in the vans and stuff like that, and because that's what Ham uses
Okay.
in his, and you can't even tell anybody's some smoked in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
And because
Yeah.
that's the I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Is when after you rent out the van, you know, if you have 2 events in a weekend,
yeah.
that when you do your event on a Friday, that the next day that you do it on a
That
Saturday,
residue
that
is
people
the
walk
smell.
in, it's not stale,
Right,
it's
right.
not, you know. I think that's probably the trickiest part of it all.
Yeah.
And that too, you don't want to have customers. You get to a location, you open the doors, and it looks like you just step out of Cheeks and Charms movie.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that would be cool. Though.
So that's where
Probably.
so that's where the rabbit comes in. The
Yeah,
guy that I told you that has the mobile cigar lounge in Tampa.
Yeah.
Okay.
He uses the exhaust thing
Yeah.
called the rabbit.
Okay.
Yeah. And my background is in that HVAC engineering, things of that sort. So we'll definitely be able to find something. And like Doug said, there's several customization shops here in St. Charles that is available that you can do those conversions and things too.
Yeah.
So it's really finding the right connections or finding the right fit for us for what we want to do, and finding it at a good price point.
Right.
Yeah. So are you thinking like kind of like a party bus situation where everybody's just kind of sitting around, or you think
Yeah.
a table in the middle,
Yeah.
you know, just kind of.
And we're going to scale that. You know, we start with, like you say, the 15, 20 passenger. It may go larger than that. A little more customization. Just have different levels of what you want to do.
So that's the next step,
That's
or
the next
I
step.
think that's the
Yeah,
next
get
step.
the mobile. Well, get the cigars.
Get the
and
cigars,
then
then the
line.
mobile.
so
lounge.
cigars first,
Get the private label.
mobile round,
Yeah.
mobile lounge
Yeah,
next.
I think
Okay.
the cigars will start to
Yeah.
generate, a little more income.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just about scaling up to
Right.
where we want to be.
Right.
We don't want to, like you say, take that leap of faith and things are not moving, nor do we have the resources to get it done in a timely fashion.
Right.
Right.
That's great. Yeah.
So it'll be a fun journey for us, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're learning as we go too, because some of the stuff we're doing is you don't necessarily have somebody sharing all of the information.
Yeah, you don't have a mentor
Right.
We're learning.
that's
man.
telling you everything.
Like we made some mistakes.
Right.
We
Yeah.
bought
Yeah.
some apparel. I think we had that. So they advertised
From
skull
China.
caps. We could get our logo stitched.
Okay.
When we got them, it was just a little vinyl sticker.
A little iron on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little quick iron on.
So we hit a
Yeah.
hit a few walls, but then you just pivot. That's why
Yeah.
you got to do samples.
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I remember that. He was like, yeah, we're not selling these.
No, the quality control guy was like,
Nah, no can do.
No, I'm excited to see kind of in the next few years what you
Yeah.
guys, as you start to build and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Because I can tell you right now, I'll be one of your first customers
All
for
right.
that cigar,
Yeah.
for that mobile cigar
yeah,
lounge.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like we don't even have to go anyplace. I'm just gonna get a few buddies. You just drive us around the city, like.
Yeah.
we hitting the football game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously, we don't need just to drive. Like you guys
Yeah.
come hang out too.
Yeah.
You know, like take turns.
And like with the Battle Hawks here, man, there's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, tailgating.
Yeah.
tailgating,
yeah,
even
absolutely.
soccer games like you
Oh,
mentioned.
definitely soccer
There's
games.
a lot of stuff happening
Yeah.
in St. Louis.
Right.
And the wineries are great.
Oh,
way
yes.
to- You get like we did a bus trip. You didn't get on the bus.
Yeah, I didn't get on the bus yet.
This
Was it
past
Herman?
summer to
Yeah, it
Herman.
was Herman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Herman.
Herman.
Yeah, we all-
Herman, great spot
Yeah.
for that. Oh man, I can't imagine like
Yeah.
just going to, even if you're at a wedding or a bachelorette party, you know, just
Yeah.
hopping on the bus, taking to Herman,
Yeah.
go around, you know, just kind of spend a few days there,
Or just pull up at the reception.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sit outside.
ready to go.
Outdoor weddings and receptions, yeah.
Yeah,
Or even
Yeah.
any outdoor events.
Any outdoor event, yeah.
Yeah, you can have because people are going to come up and buy cigars all day. Even
Yeah,
if you
of
don't
course.
have your own brand, they're going to buy whatever's in your
Especially at
humidor.
weddings for some odd reason.
oh
Yeah.
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 All
you
All
always
the
have-
guys want a cigar at
You
the
always
wedding.
have to have a good cigar at a wedding, especially if you're renting the suits. Then who
Right,
cares?
right.
You know, just like
Man.
not our problem after that.
I didn't think about it. You're gonna clean it anyway.
Yeah. Don't have to spend money on dry cleaning, you know.
Exactly.
You already paid for it. No, that's super exciting. I'm excited, and as you guys are building and stuff like that, like let's do this
Yeah.
more often.
Yeah.
You know, I'm excited to hear like as new updates come
Oh,
come
no
on
doubt.
and stuff, and even if you guys just want to just kind of shoot the shit, you know, just get some business
Man,
ideas,
yeah.
bounce business ideas off each other.
Yeah, we
You
would
know.
love to like do a smoky conversation event
Yes.
where we not
That's your podcast right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't
You
necessarily
like-
have to talk about our business, but we can
Yeah.
just shoot, like you say, shoot the shit, talk,
Yeah.
Yeah,
talk
get a-
about anything. That's what it
Yeah.
really, because what
Get a
happens
variety of
is,
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get the conversation goes so many directions, man.
Right.
You get so much good content.
Well, you just have to be the type of people that, as you have those conversations, you talk about whatever.
Right.
You know, you could sit there and talk about, you know, football for a couple hours,
Yeah.
but people, you know, are almost recognizing you as influencers in a
right.
way where they're sitting there and they're going, I like these guys. Like, let me buy their apparel. I want to be associated with their
Right,
their
yeah,
brand
right.
and
You know,
stuff.
smoky conversation is almost kind of like barbershop talk.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you know, you got 10 people waiting to get in a chair, and you got 5 barbers, you know, and somebody's already in the chair, and the conversation that just goes on inside of barbershops, you know, is where smoky conversations came up.
The
Yeah.
original third place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
barbershop.
Barbershop.
That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
concept stemmed from was barbershops.
Exactly,
Was
exactly.
like that's where people would go and everybody's seeing each other. Even if you aren't even getting
Not
your
even
hair
getting
cut,
a
like
haircut.
you're hanging out there. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
knows each other. That's knows what's going on in each other's lives. So that's
Yeah.
that's kind of the basis. And I think what a lot of people, to have a successful business, to have a successful product, they have to also add that element into it.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
it's
you
fun.
have to get it to the point that it's fun, it feels
Yeah.
natural.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just like your wind down spot, you know.
I think you said it earlier. Just talk, act like the cameras
Yeah.
aren't here.
No, yeah, don't
That's
even
the
pay
way
attention
do
to
it.
them.
That's the way to do it, because then you get that organic conversation going, and it, like I said, it can go anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just pluck out the content.
Yeah,
that-
it can be sports, kids, relationships, you know, anything.
Yeah, work.
Work,
Work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, works. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can talk about
Yeah.
that for hours.
Right.
That's always the thing. Is like when I developed content here and there, just to talk about different stuff. I always noticed, like, I tried for a while, just like looking at a camera and just talking about it. It just felt so unnatural.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
but I could talk to you guys
Right.
and talk about different ideas and things like that, and I'm much better at having that conversational tone than if you're staring at a camera and you know you end up stumbling over everything that you're saying and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
Yeah, but a lot of the conversations I can recall, like in cigar lounges, sports is the main one, man. You get to you talk about your team, right? You can
Yeah.
have the team apparel on. Like usually, if you going to watch football at a cigar lounge, you have to wear your team.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't, it's like you catch it, man.
Right.
You don't like that team really because you don't even have their jersey on.
Right.
Rams fan, original Rams fans. Steelers. I know your wife's a big Steelers
big
fan.
Steelers fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm a Green Bay Packer fan, man.
Okay.
So I'm still a little bit mourning from the loss last Saturday.
Yeah,
But
well,
it's cool. It's cool. We did. I think we
did all right.
exceeded expectations.
Oh yeah, no one expected the
No,
Packers
we
to
weren't
do
supposed
anything.
to make the playoffs.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Like
And
for me,
we missed that field goal. That hurt us. I know. It was crushing.
right.
But not as much as how we beat Dallas down. You know, that was
The Crab Boys.
the Crab Boys.
Cowgirl.
We just lost a few viewers.
Sorry guys. I don't think any Cowboys fans watch this. So don't worry.
I love their enthusiasm though.
Oh man, they're going to make the Super Bowl every year.
Yeah, every year.
Yeah, you know, every
Or at least the playoffs.
I was
Not quite. Yeah.
my family owned. We were PSL owners for the Rams.
Okay.
You know, so we would go every single weekend, see the Rams. We were there from the greatest show on turf to the worst show on turf.
Yeah.
You know, but Steven Jackson era, you know, like
Right.
you'd lose 7-54, but you know, Steven Jackson still
Yeah.
got you that thing
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
I
was on
would-
your fantasy football team.
Right. I would always make fun of when I was really young. I would sit there and go, man, you know, can they just say something else other than Steven Jackson's ball carrier?
Right.
You know, like over and over again.
He was
Yeah.
a workhorse,
And
man.
I'm not that into pro sports, but I watch it. But I love college football.
Who's your team?
Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I went to.
I wasn't too happy about this season, but hey,
Hey.
Everybody has turnover.
you don't drop from 1 to 6 though.
Yeah, that was a tough one. That was tough.
So
You got to get Alabama in there, though. You know?
Now they're Alabama. Who knows? Saban's gone.
Saban's
Nick
gone.
Saban's
Yeah.
retiring. Yeah. It's,
Yeah. I'm excited for Mizzou now.
Yeah.
Mizzou had an amazing season.
season.
They almost beat Georgia, which I think is like one of the greatest accomplishments
Yeah.
a college team can say
Right.
right now. Is
Yeah.
like we almost beat Georgia.
Almost beat
Yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he was on the edge of his seat for that one.
Oh, I didn't even go to the sports bar for that one.
He had to sit at home.
Yeah, I sat at home and watched it.
Yeah.
Because you know everybody's against
Yeah.
you.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to hear it. I mean, so many times I go into a sports bar, I may be one of 4 people that got on the Georgia jersey sweatshirt.
And,
Hands
and
on
even
that.
that's pretty rare,
Yeah.
you know, especially around here.
Yeah, I go in, hey. Instead of doing Superman pose in the bar.
Imagine being a Packers fan in St. Louis,
Yeah.
man. It's like, what? I'm like, hey. I was a big Reggie White fan.
Yeah.
He went to the Packers. I followed. And
Yeah.
I've been there ever since.
Nice.
So,
I know a lot of guys were like that with like Brett Favre.
yeah.
You know, when he left the Packers, all of a sudden he started to become like Minnesota fans.
Yeah.
Stuck with them. You know, I was a big Rams fan. When the Rams left, obviously pissed off about that. But then, like, I don't know if you guys noticed, like after the Rams left, Kansas City started putting billboards in St. Louis. They're like, hey, we're technically the
Right.
Missouri team. And it's like,
Join us.
I grew up hating
Be
you
like,
all.
stop hiding.
Right.
I can't all of a sudden root for you. So even now, like I was happy they won, you know, the Super Bowl and
Yeah.
stuff, but even now it's just like I just
So
can't.
who's your team?
Or,
I still like find myself rooting for the Rams. I
Okay.
still,
Nothing wrong with that.
I was like, I feel like I deserve it.
yeah.
You know, I was still pretty young when they won the Super Bowl with Warner and stuff, but I remember it. But like, my love for football started with the crappiest team ever, and just watched them for forever. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, Jared Goff took them to the Super Bowl, and it's
Yeah.
like the worst Super Bowl in history, 9-6, all field goals, not a single
Yeah.
touchdown was scored. And still, I was like, I deserve this. You know, screw Conky, but I deserve this.
Flip. So Goff is in what?
Detroit.
Detroit, and Stafford's in Los Angeles
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And who won that game? I think Goff.
Goff,
Yeah,
yeah.
Goff won that game. Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
And that's what it is that all of those guys that play college teams that I watch is the reason I watch pro sports.
Right.
Just to see how well they're going to do.
Just to follow
So,
them.
yeah, see if they're going to transition if they're going to make it or fall off, you know.
Yeah, I was always really big on Mizzou when they went to the
Quick
championship.
all those
Chase
guys.
Daniels.
Oh,
Yeah,
Chase
Chase,
Daniels,
yes,
yeah,
yep.
that whole Jeremy Maclin,
Yep,
Chase
yep.
Daniel era.
Right, and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, Mac.
That's why,
Dude,
wasn't
don't
he
even
at
get me
Miami or
started.
somewhere now?
What?
Where's Jeremy Maclin?
He's not playing.
I don't think he's playing. I don't even.
He did like 2 or 3 years
Chase
somewhere.
Daniels, is he retired?
You know, man, he'll show up off somebody's bench. Like
Yeah.
one year, it's like I think Drew Brees got hurt, and all of a sudden Chase Daniel. I'm like, he's with.
I was so excited. I was like, here it is. Here it is. We're reliving it. You know, Mizzou. Yeah.
Like, where he come from? I don't know whose bench he's on, but he always performs.
Right,
Yeah.
right. He
always
was always really good. And then Sam Bradford.
Yep.
Definitely, bro.
When
Man.
he was
Man.
signed this $65 million as a rookie. That's when they put. He was the reason they put
Cap
a
on it.
rule
Yeah.
on how much you could sign rookie.
Exactly.
$65 million, got hurt, and then really never did anything
Never
ever
did anything
since.
else.
But it didn't matter.
It wouldn't have mattered to me. I said, that's the deal I want.
Right.
The guaranteed cash. But you can only get rocked so many times.
I'm gonna hit once, and I won't even be hurt, but I'll be hurt.
Yeah,
You don't
guaranteed. 65 guaranteed
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
It's like,
Dude, I could be. I would just fall. Like, I wouldn't even get hit because I don't really want to get hit.
Lamar Jackson couldn't even get 65 guaranteed.
Yeah.
And like-
Yeah,
He's cold.
you can't get your
Cold.
teeth loosened so many times and still come back and perform.
Right.
You're going to get shell shocked, you know?
Yeah, there's certain players I wouldn't want to get hit by. Like
Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis.
Man,
Yeah.
come on.
That's when I started following
Come
the
on,
Ravens,
man.
because of Ray Lewis.
Ravens, yeah.
Ronnie Lott back in the
They
day.
Oh, man.
they were doing a thing on ESPN. They were interviewing. They had Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce on, and they were asking them like, who do you think the best wide receiver duos were? And they were like, well, of course we were. And well, because everybody's saying like, you know, Higgins and Jamar Chase and you know and all this stuff, and they're like, listen, these guys are really talented.
Yeah, but the dude.
But the problem is that football is not the same as it used to be.
Right.
Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce, they were wide receivers. You know, and a lot of these other guys too. They were wide receivers when you could. Doesn't even matter if the ball's being thrown to them. As soon as they're running down the field, you could just hit these guys full force. Doesn't matter. No flags thrown, and they still caught the ball.
Right. Yep.
And they still, you know, and like these other guys, you touch a guy now, and it's like, you know, flag, you know, pass
Targeting,
interference.
all that, man.
Yeah.
Everything. They used to,
One of
coming
the
across
things-
that middle used to be dangerous.
Well, one of the greatest clips I still laugh at to this day is when T.O. tried to blindside Ray Lewis.
Oh, yeah, that
And
don't
he
work.
just ran him over. He
Yeah,
like, you
that
know,
don't
Ray
work.
wasn't looking. I thought I could get him. He like,
Was it T.O. or was it Chad?
That was Chad.
That's
Chad
Chad.
Ocho.
Yeah, that's Chad,
Ocho. Yeah. He like, I thought I could get him,
Yeah.
but it didn't work out that way. He just ran right through me.
Yeah.
It's like the Derrick Henrys of
Yeah.
today, where guys try to tackle them, they just bounce right off.
Yeah.
He didn't even look at it. Boom.
Right.
Yeah, Ray Lewis is man.
Saw
one of
the
the,
little birds go around his head.
you have those linebackers like Ray Lewis, Jack Lambert,
Yeah.
people, man. Even what was the short guy with the Rams? Used to be with the Rams.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I can't think of the name.
London Fletcher.
Yes.
Fletcher.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. That low center of gravity, he was
Yeah.
a beast too. Man.
He was a bowling ball for the wrong,
Exactly,
wrong
yeah,
side of the
exactly.
ball.
They don't make them the same anymore. They
Yeah.
grew up with not being hit, and now it's
Yeah.
just like, you know,
That's why you see 50
Well-
point games.
right.
It's like, come
Well,
on, man.
that-
The NFL, 50 points.
I mean, it wasn't until recent that I started to notice you don't even see wide receivers with pads on their legs anymore.
Yeah, they ain't.
Yeah.
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 They think they
I'm like-
slow them down, but they're not getting hit.
Yeah, they're not
getting
getting
like
hit.
they used to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the linebackers, they used to wear the big old shoulders.
Oh yeah, the
Now
pads
they
are like
got
nothing now.
Yeah. But the game is faster too, man.
A lot
I-
faster.
Now, if you see a 300-pound guy that can run a sub 540, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I couldn't
DK
imagine.
Metcalf was like he's a rock of a human
Yeah.
being. Like there's players that bounce. He's like one of the only wide receivers where players just bounce off of him back and forth, and you just
Like McCaffrey, man, right now with the 49ers.
Yeah.
Man, tackling that dude.
Christian Okoye.
Oh, the Nigerian knife.
You
man,
boy.
Back in the day. Yeah, they don't make them like that
Yeah.
anymore.
No, not at all.
You don't see anybody get ran over anymore like you used to.
Right.
No.
But Derrick Henry, though,
Yeah.
some of the stiff
He's the la-
arms. whew.
He's like, I'm not going to try to go around. Like
No.
Christian McCaffrey, you can't tackle him.
Right.
That's his thing. Derrick Henry, he's like, please try to tackle me. Because with Christian McCaffrey, he'll dodge guys, but
Yeah.
he still has more guys. Where Derrick Henry's just like, I'll just hit every single. That's how
Yep.
he'll get out of my way. Is I'll just knock you
Learn
over.
to get out of that way.
And the other thing too, like the quarterbacks, you can't touch the
Oh, you can't
quarterbacks
touch the
anymore.
quarterback.
And now it's like you can't touch them.
Yeah, you definitely went after
Yeah.
the quarterback to take
You
him
hit him
out.
too low. You hit him too high.
Yeah.
Oh God, you touched him.
You hit them
You
too hard.
pushed him
Yeah.
down. I
I
saw
think
this
that's
one
the Tom
when
Brady effect, though.
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Man, you couldn't touch that
they
guy.
flop now, like I don't know why.
Yeah.
Oh, you
I saw
know
this one game, the guy hit the quarterback and held. He's like, "No, you ain't falling." He's just
Right,
rocking
I'm
with
just
him.
gonna lay down.
You're not gonna flop.
No,
No,
it
it was
used
the
to be-
kicker. It was the kicker.
Yeah,
He bumped the
yeah.
kicker. He's like, "Nope."
I can understand
You're not
the
gonna
kicker,
fly.
though, because he's one leg
Vulnerable.
up in the air.
Yeah.
I know,
Really
yeah.
vulnerable, but
Kill a guy doing that.
But you
Yeah.
got that momentum. He's like, "Oh," just
Yeah.
grabbed him. He hugged him, walked with him.
Yeah.
I mean, even in Little League ball, they would tell, we would get in the huddle and be like, hey, meet us at the quarterback. And that was it.
Yes.
What's the play? Meet at the quarterback. Okay.
right. Meet at the quarterback. You meet at the ball.
right.
Let's get it.
You gonna hit something, though.
Shit, I guess we better start wrapping this up.
Yeah. No,
We're
it's just
over
about
with.
just about to do it.
Our
Oh,
time
damn.
we're past
Yeah.
time, man.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, this was awesome.
This
I
was
appreciate you
awesome,
guys
yeah.
coming
Yeah,
out.
man. This is great.
Yeah,
Appreciate you.
We'll
Absolutely.
we'll work on this and get everything over to you
All
guys,
right.
and yeah, check it out. You know,
Sure, sure.
Man, I'll be reaching out for some advice, too, because we're going to need your support on that smoking conversation.
Yeah.
Love it.
Anything, you know, obviously,
Yeah.
got a great place to meet. So,
Absolutely.
you know, but cool, awesome.
Yeah.
There's no sign off. It's just
Oh, it's just, all right,
see ya.
y'all.
Yeah. Bye.